6:02, good morning on this New Year's Eve, live from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs Studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. It was a disappointing end of the season yesterday as the Tennessee Vols fall to Illinois 30-28 and end the 2025 season at 8-5. A 94-yard kick return for a touchdown by Tennessee's Joachim Dodson put the Vols up 28-27 late in the fourth quarter, but Illinois' quarterback Luke Altmaier led the Illini down the field for the last-second chip shot field goal and get the win. The Vols were outgained 417 to 278 yards in the game. Joey Aguilar threw for just 121 yards passing, his lowest total of the season. He was also sacked 4 times, one of which was a sack fumble, and recovered for an Illinois touchdown. In NFL news, the Cowboys released cornerback Trevon Diggs yesterday. Should Diggs clear waivers, he can be available for pickup just in time for a team making their playoff push. Diggs was Dallas' second-round draft pick back in 2020. Coming up today at 11 a.m. on ESPN, Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt Commodores take on Iowa in the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa Bay. Vanderbilt is without top tight end Eli Stowers in this one, but is a 4.5-point favorite. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
For the final time in 2025, we welcome you to Ramon and Will on 104.5 The Zone. Glad you are with us on this New Year's Eve. Tennessee lost another football game last night. 8-5, the way the 2025 season ends. Where do the Vols go next? A pivotal offseason begins today. A transfer portal that will open tomorrow. We'll spend as much time talking about that as we will the actual game that finished what was a very interesting bridge season in Knoxville. Brent Hubs stops by at 8:20. Stephen Godfrey at 9. Talking college football, of course, with both of them as the show goes on this morning. Belmont head coach Casey Alexander at 8. Brett Bryan can hop in here at the end of hour 1 and beginning of hour 2. Your phone calls at 615-737-1045. And, of course, lots of Titans and Jaguars discussion as well. Justin Hawkins is our producer. I'm Will Bolding. Ramon Foster is out. We will, as the joke goes, see him next year. Good morning, Justin.
One of the worst or maybe best cliches of all time.
Look, it's the low-hanging fruit, but also I believe I'm not doing my job if I don't make that joke at least 2 or 3 times this morning.
That's okay. I use that all the time as well. So I was talking to my wife last night.
Okay.
And so, on Monday, I told you, should I or should I not reveal what names we have?
Yeah.
So I talked to her. Mm-hmm. How about on Monday, we put up a poll and we have the people vote to see what their favorite is, because obviously the two of us are having a choice and cannot decide. So we want to put it to a vote.
All right.
So Monday morning, we're going to put it on a poll.
Okay.
And we're going to have a couple names. We're going to have the 2 names that I have chosen, and then we're going to have Ramon's pick of Omar or Amarian.
Omar.
Nobody please pick Amarian, because
one of those 2 is 100% going to win, now that you've said that.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
We should just ask every guest we have on for the next week.
There you go.
Hey, what should Justin name his future son?
Yeah.
615-737-1045.
A or B.
We're halfway joking on that one. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Very exciting time for you guys.
Yep.
Very excited for
you.
you.
Got any good plans for tonight?
Stranger Things finale at 7.
Oh, really?
A dinner reservation closer to like 9:15. Late dinner. Pretty chill, though. What about you?
We're already acting like parents, and we're going to turn in early, probably.
There you go.
Yeah. Get very tired at this time of year. So probably
why not start practicing now?
The last 2 years, what's happened is I have fallen asleep, and I've woken up at least 5 to 10 minutes before 12 a.m., just in time to have that little glass of champagne, and then right back to bed.
That's a pretty good body clock you got there.
Right?
Then. Yeah, just understanding, like, all right, time to celebrate, watch the ball drop, and all right, we're back to sleep.
Exactly.
Well done.
Yep, sitting in the couch,
like it.
and then all of a sudden, like, what time is it? Oh, look at that.
Good for you.
Here we go. Glass of champagne. Where is it? Running around the house. And, okay, we're done. The dog's sitting here like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah, right, well, of course. Dogs don't understand these things. Like, why are you still up? It's time to go to bed. Let's go.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Exactly.
Last night in Nissan Stadium, the Music City Bowl did not go the way that I expected it to, it was the result I expected. Did not think Tennessee was going to win this game with all of the defensive struggles, plus the fact that you take the two current best players, really three current best players, off of that defense, and definitely best player at each level for the Music City Bowl last night. 30-28 in favor of the Illinois Fighting Illini, a very random athletic department to kind of own Tennessee over the last month in games in Nashville. But that is certainly what happened. It was the result that I think made a lot of sense. The way it happened to me was pretty surprising. So Tennessee's offense came into this game averaging 482 yards per game. 482 in 2025. They managed 278 in this one. Joey Aguilar was 14 of 18 for 121 in a setting where you often see quarterbacks, coaches, football teams just kind of throw caution to the wind and go for it. Try to have fun, throw it deep. Tennessee could do no such thing. A very sad ending to Joey Aguilar's, albeit excellent season, long college football career. He had 0 completions for 20-plus yards against the Illinois defense. Tennessee's longest pass play was for 18 yards. They ran it 37 times for 157. Without Chris Brazzell, really just couldn't get anything going deep down the field. They were missing that big, physical, jump ball, power forward type receiver. Offensively, I thought that Illinois was really good. I think Tennessee's defense, honestly, probably played well enough for Tennessee to win this game relative to the expectation of who they had on the field. Luke Altmaier, 20 of 33, 196. Illinois, who did not run the ball well much at all this season, runs it 39 times for 221 yards. Honestly, you got to tip your cap to Brett Bielema in Illinois. Smart game plan on their part. There probably were more explosive plays for them in the past game. What does it say about this Tennessee defense that they put on the field in this Music City Bowl that Illinois is like, you know what? We're good. We're going to ground and pound you. We're going to grind this thing out. We're going to take our time. We're going to play keep away. And that's exactly what they did. Tennessee's offense did not touch the football for the final 11 minutes and 40 seconds of this football game. Time of possession is not necessarily a predictive stat. It is not, honestly, it's probably one of the most unimportant stats in all of football because you don't have to have the ball for that long if you're able to score explosive plays and you go fast and all these things. It mattered for Tennessee last night. And when you are in that extreme of a difference in time of possession, it certainly matters for your defense. Jim Knowles has work to do for the Tennessee defense. So we're going to talk with Brent Hubs at 8:20 about some of the potential upcoming staff changes. But there are still a lot of concerns about this defense. Not every bowl game is a big deal. To be quite honest with you, I totally agree with what Austin Price said on the show yesterday. If you missed it, he came on here and said, this game for Tennessee is kind of like the Florida game in the Swamp. There is a lot more for you to lose than there is for you to win. If you go to Nashville and you beat Illinois, fans are going to leave there kind of nodding their heads like, yeah, all right, we won the Music City Bowl and don't really care about the accolade or the trophy. Like, it's just kind of what you're supposed to do, right? You go to the Big Ten SEC bowl game, you win the bowl game, you feel maybe a little bit better about what was a fine season, not good, not great, not bad. But you just kind of like, all right, sure, that's kind of the way it goes, whatever, and you leave. If you lose the game, well, all of a sudden, you have a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth heading into the offseason, a taste that was already there from the way you got, for lack of a better term, punked on your own field against Vanderbilt. There is going to be a lot of pressure on Josh Heupel heading into 2026. That's not because he lost the Music City Bowl. It's because the last thing that Tennessee fans saw from Tennessee football, in a lot of ways, is the same thing they saw all season from Tennessee football. They got outmanned in the run game defensively. They weren't able to consistently create the explosive plays that we saw them make at the beginning of the season. There are missed kicks. There are untimely penalties. You can't tackle in space. Not every bowl game is a big deal, but this was less about one game and more about the one game that was a perfect example of what went wrong this entire season. This was a fitting end to what was a not great, could have been worse, whatever bridge season of 2025. That's kind of my one word for the way I sum up this season. Whatever. Could have been worse, certainly could have been better. And we're going to talk about what it means for the program and the kinds of things they're going to have to look themselves in the mirror and ask, Justin, going into this offseason. But it is certainly true that you had a lot more to lose than you did to gain in this game, and you lost it.
Yeah, you would have liked to see some more out of the younger players with Rodarius Jackson, Travis Smith, just not having the game that many people thought that they would have in a game where it's your kind of time to shine. And then, of course, with the defense, missing Colton Hood and, not even having your passing game be really the detriment to the game, that like what ended this for them. It was the run game that's plagued them all season. And I just kept watching this game like, can we not just see a stop here, like at all? And I think that was the problem. Is just there was no physical front up there to stop. And you got a little bit of pressure on Altmaier, but it just wasn't enough to really impact the game at all.
After a 14-play, 79-yard drive to make it 24-21, Illinois went on a 12-play, 65-yard drive over 6:26. Joachim Dotson, the freshman, kickoff return for a touchdown, which was like shades of Deshaun Jackson against the Giants back in the day, right? Like it's sometimes when you bobble it on a kick, you can kind of get the coverage team out of their lanes a little bit because it extends the play a little bit. And to your point, yeah, great return by Joachim Dotson. But then you didn't touch the ball for the final 11:40. Yeah. It's almost like you should have gone down. Obviously, you're not going to go down.
You just needed one
and take
stop.
More time, but right.
You needed one stop up by 1 point. You needed one stop, and you couldn't get it. Couldn't get it all game.
And that is the story of Tennessee football in 2025. Illinois' average third down distance of this game, 4.8 yards. Tennessee's 7.1. 3 of their drives spanned 5 minutes. Tennessee had 2 that spanned 5 minutes, which is not necessarily their pathway to being successful in offense either. So I have one word for something Tennessee has to address this offseason. And I'm curious where the Vol fan is this morning on Josh Heupel, the pressure on his staff, and how much you really care about the way the season ended last night. 615-737-1045, live for the 1045 The Zone Circus Sports Studio. Kentucky's largest sports book can now be found at Circus Sports at Kentucky Downs. My one word of something that's got to be addressed for Tennessee football this offseason is next.
Did you know that up to 50% of the air you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space? Have you ever looked in your crawl space? I get it. Most of us don't even want to know what's in there, but moisture in your crawl space can create unhealthy issues that can make their way into the air you breathe every day in your home. It's Ramon Foster, and this is where United Structural Systems can help you out. USS has been keeping homes dry and stable in Middle Tennessee since 1994, so you know they aren't going anywhere. Help control moisture and musty smells in your crawl space with encapsulation that comes with the USS guarantee. Encapsulation helps reduce high humidity in your crawl space. It also helps deter mold and mildew and protects your crawl space from pests and wood rot. So turn your crawl space into a healthy space. Call USS for all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs. They will give you a free estimate, and it's a company that I trust, man. You can go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call them the old school way at 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.
Ramona Will, the 104.5 The Zone, the final show of 2025 on this New Year's Eve Wednesday morning, 615-737-1045. We give the number because I'm interested to know where Tennessee fans are at this morning. If you were at the game last night, maybe it feels a little bit more frustrating the way this season ends, the way you lose to Illinois. I'll be honest, going to this game, I told myself, whatever. Bowl game, not one you're going to get super excited or super annoyed with. Either way, it's not been a great season, not the bowl game you want to be at, whatever. And then you go there and you're in a close game at halftime. And you're like, dang it, I really want to win this game. And then you leave and you're like, dang it, how the heck do you lose to Illinois, right?
It's that beautiful competitive spirit.
Yeah, it is. Josh Heupel talking post-game about a few plays that will be burned into his brain after this season. This was the Tennessee head coach after the loss to Illinois.
I think in this game, but throughout the course of the season, it's a series of one plays that make a difference, and there's a few of them that will be burned in my brain for a long time. And I think the disappointment of tonight, or the disappointment of any of the games during the course of the season, but in particular tonight, it's got a chance to be the fuel that you use as motivation starting tomorrow and when we get back in January. And it's a competitive game. You got to be on the right side of it, and you got to fight for it every single day. And that's why I talked to our guys about in the locker room tonight.
That's Josh Heupel after the game last night. Tennessee did not beat a single FBS team with a winning record in 2025. The season that just ended for Tennessee is a really interesting one in terms of context, how you decide to view it, and what kind of expectations you put on the next season, on 2026. Tennessee's kind of in this cycle right now of even years being contending years near the top of the SEC. 2022 and 2024, where in 22 you were right in the mix for a college football playoff spot in a 4-team playoff with Hendon Hooker, who should have been a Heisman finalist, but got hurt late in the season. It should have mattered, but it did, unfortunately. 2023, bridge year. Joe Milton, 8-4. No crazy, huge victories. No terrible losses to awful teams. Just fine. Okay? 2024, 10-2 again. Contender. College football playoff. Lose to Ohio State. And then right back down to 8-4, and then obviously 8-5 at the end of it in Music City Bowl with the loss to Illinois last night. So it creates a pressure. It creates an expectation then of Tennessee fans to say, all right, if we're going to stomach these bridge years, there also then is a time where things have got to come due in the even years. Here's the problem for Tennessee football heading into 2026. You are not as lucky with your schedule. And this is where the 9-team SEC schedule is going to raise the pressure levels and raise the difficulty levels as well on head coaches all around the conference. Tennessee should feel really fortunate they did not have Florida's schedule this year. You should feel really fortunate you didn't have Oklahoma's schedule this year. Heck, even Vanderbilt's schedule, which was not as difficult once the season was kicked off as maybe you thought it was going to be on paper. But imagine if that Tennessee team has to play Florida's schedule this past season. Same team, you roll the footballs out there. How many wins do you think they have? 6?
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Maybe 7 wins?
Yeah.
So here's the thing that Josh Heupel has got to look in the mirror and decide. And it's the one word that's going to, I think, define the entire offseason. Toughness. How tough are you as a football team and as a football program? How many times, Justin, this season, would you have watched a Tennessee football game and say, Tennessee was the tougher football team?
Yeah, it wasn't many.
I don't think there's a single one.
Yeah. It goes back to what Jason Swain said on the show almost a month ago. It was earlier this month. And talking about that very topic, about how you have to recruit toughness. And like you have to go back and look in your locker room to see what you have and what you don't have. And I think what you don't have is like what you just said, the word tough.
And every time Tennessee won a big football game in 2024, it was because they were the tougher football team.
Right.
They were able to grind out low-scoring, older school SEC football games. This team, while not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination, certainly not a great one, never showcased that same level of toughness. And let's start with just mental toughness, because I think you could look at this from two angles. Tennessee, again, showcased last night, they weren't mentally tough enough to get a football game over the finish line that they were in all the way down to the final drive and all the way down to the fourth quarter. Tennessee jumps off sides on a 3rd and 5 from their own 15-yard line in the final 2 minutes, trying to force a field goal and basically taking away any chance their offense had at being able to come right back on the field. It was really 3rd and 6 because it gave Illinois a 3rd and 1. But you took away any opportunity for your quarterback who's playing in his last game, who cared enough about your program, his career, going off of the right note to play again, took the ball totally out of his hands. They false started right before a game-winning kick attempt against Georgia that they missed, which, by the way, missed kicks.
Yeah.
Mental toughness. Are you prepared to meet the moment in a big stage, in a big moment of a football game? A pick six on the goal line at Tuscaloosa. Mental toughness. Get it over the finish line. Are you able, when things get tight, when the field gets condensed, when the pressure is on you away from home, are you going to rise to the occasion or are you going to wilt? Missed kick and dropped wide open pass on 4th down against Oklahoma by a freshman. Another key word of this, too, is inexperience, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then against Vanderbilt, again, dropped touchdown that would have totally changed the game late for Mike Matthews. Good football player, had a fine season. Bad moment in that regard. Constant busts in the run game. They're not mentally tough enough. And that's just the mental side of it. Let's go to physical toughness. Forget the injuries at corner. If you just pluck Colton Hood, a healthy Ricky Gibson, and Jermod McCoy and put them on that field last night for Tennessee against Illinois, you really think anything would have been that much different? I don't. They can't stop the run.
Yeah.
They can't fit the run. They
might
can't
cover a little bit better, but you're not.
There's no push
Yeah.
in the interior of the defensive line to be able to get upfield and slow down guys in the backfield. I get that the linebackers struggled to tackle last night against Illinois and did a lot of times this season, especially when Arion Carter wasn't out there. But you were also asking them to meet backs in the hole at full speed over and over, constantly, because your defensive line is unable to get a consistent push. And that is a Rodney Garner defensive line. You know how many times we talk about a Rodney Garner Tennessee defensive line not being the tougher unit on the field in the line of scrimmage game? That's very rare.
Yeah. Especially in the last few years.
That has not been a thing. I mean, even that defense in 2022, I didn't question the toughness level. I just didn't think Tennessee had very many good defensive backfield players, secondary players that season.
Yeah. I think the talent level this year is good, but it's not great. But when it comes to the toughness level, like you just mentioned, you see it on a different aspect of things because you can have lesser talent but better toughness, and you make more of an impact.
Yeah.
But if you have good talent and you're not having a good push, then it doesn't really matter what kind of talent you have. You're just not getting what you need to get done. And all season, like we've already mentioned a couple times today, the run defense, there is no push. All you keep getting, instead of pushing forward, you're getting pushed back.
You are. And then you got to commit more guys in the box for the run game, and then all of a sudden you're exposed in the back end with inexperienced.
I mean, you didn't have Joshua Josephs out there. You didn't have Arion Carter out there. Like, you didn't have some of these top-end players, but I don't think it would have mattered.
It's just odd to me how Tennessee lost its edge and lost its toughness so quickly.
Yeah. It almost seemed like they didn't want to play yesterday.
Well, but they didn't want to play in a lot of games then this season because that's the same defense we saw all year, right? Like, I don't think this was bowl game motivation. I'm personally not going to use that excuse because this was just a continuation of what the whole season was for Tennessee. They were inexperienced on defense. They replaced a lot of guys from a championship level 2024 defense. And make no mistake, that was a championship level defense for a lot of that season a year ago. But from guys like Arion Carter, who I do think brought that edge every day, to the more consistent play of guys like Omari Thomas and Omar Norman Lott, of James Pierce Jr., of a number of players on that defensive line and front seven a season ago, to just kind of lose that in one offseason is strange to me. Dylan Sampson, the toughness he brought in the run game, that's no disrespect to Deshaun Bishop, who I think held up his end of the bargain last night, just like he did all season.
But you never questioned it.
Right. So the question then for Josh Heupel is, do you have the guys in the building that can get tougher? Or do you got to go find other ones? Do you have the coaching staff that can develop toughness, that can create a tougher mentality, a tougher and higher level of physicality, especially on defense? And by the way, that offensive line, too, that started the season pretty well. Didn't look great again last night. 4 sacks for the Illinois defense. Josh Heupel talked about it last night, was asked by Adam Sparks of the Knoxville News-Sentinel, with the recruiting class you brought in, with the young players on your football team, how do you feel about the future of your program? How much talent do you feel like you got to go get in the transfer portal? Josh Heupel responded with this last night postgame.
Well, we got to get better, absolutely. But there's a lot of really good young talent inside of that locker room. One of, if not the youngest teams in our league. There's an influx of guys that we just signed that are highly talented. Yes, we have to go into the portal and get some guys too. The talent is one thing. The development of it is the second part of it. But there's a connection in work mentality and mental toughness and every trait that it takes to go win that's got to be developed as well. And I feel really good about what we have coming back, what we have coming in, and then we got to go get some guys here in the portal, and then we got to build a football team, which is what you have to do every year when you get back in January.
Talking about mental toughness that's got to be developed, Josh Heupel. He knows it. He understands. By the way, that also sounds like a coach in Josh Heupel that's about to have a very different looking coaching staff in probably the next 48 hours. We'll talk to Brent Hubs about that later in the show. But you hear him talk about it. There is a workman-like mentality that's got to be developed within this football team. His actions are going to show us over the next week if he feels like these football players can develop more toughness physically and mentally, or if he's got to go get some tougher guys. Here is another problem for Tennessee football. And another thing that they've got to address this offseason. It's hard to charge a talent fee to fans the same season you go 8-5 and lose to Illinois in the Music City Bowl. Tennessee added a 10% talent fee to football and other ticket purchases starting in 2025. A direct charge to fans to help fund a new revenue sharing model for student athletes, in addition to regular ticket price hikes. This was a first of its kind move. And I'll raise my hand and say, when this was publicized and this came out, Ramon and I both looked at each other and was like, yeah, that's about right. Right? Like, your teams are good. This is the cost of winning. Sure. But here's the thing. When you don't win, now fans can turn around and feel like their money has not been spent in the right way and feel personally victimized and cheated by your inability to put talent on the field, on the court. And I get it. Rising prices and charging more in the new model of college athletics is not just something Tennessee's doing. This is not a Tennessee problem. The problem that Tennessee had is it was the, quote, first of its kind to call it a talent fee.
Yeah.
Again, I get it, right? Prices have got to go up. You've got to find money elsewhere in a world where college athletics is giving a bigger piece of the pie than ever on the record, on the table, over the table to athletes. I get it. But also now, the fans that paid to watch that game last night in the lower bowl up in the 300 level, they feel like they are personally a part of this to say, well, where's our money going?
Right.
Well, what did we pay for?
That's when they start coming after Heupel.
That's when they start coming after Danny White.
Well, true.
Because this is a Danny White thing.
Yeah.
And this is where Tennessee football then has got to use the talent fee. If talent fee means something, if you want to be on the cutting edge, and I know that talent fees, that's not directly going to NIL. You're not, but let's be honest. If you really want to spend in the upper echelon of SEC football, of college football, go get legit portal talent and make it work. If you really feel like you've got to find toughness, I tend to believe you are more likely to go get that in older veteran players in the transfer portal than you are to just develop that in some freshmen and sophomores over the course of this offseason. I tend to kind of think that toughness is either something you've got or you don't.
Yeah.
And that's what Josh Heupel's got to decide. That's why he makes a lot of money, is to decide, is this freshman, is this sophomore, who we probably put out there this season before they were ready to play, can we develop a tougher football team and players out of these guys, or do we got to go find some?
Yeah. I mean, look at
about to find out.
Look at Texas Tech. They're spending the money to go get these older guys like a Diego Pavia, who all he does is bring toughness. And then you got Texas Tech, who's rebuilt their defense, rebuilt some of their offense, and now look at them in the college football playoff. There is some models out there that show that you go get these veteran guys, but I tend to think that if you're having trouble and you're, say, a sophomore or junior in college, it's harder to develop that mental toughness because it already should kind of be there. Chad Brinker and Mike Bergonzi is talking about their culture and the way that they want to build this football team to the way that you have the toughness. You love to play football. The same applies here to Josh Heupel. He needs to find guys who love to play football, who want to be on that field and make the plays. I didn't quite see that this year.
No, I didn't either. I get the talent fee. I get the prices going up. They've got jobs to do to keep the athletic department running and making money.
But go get the talent.
But then on the back end of it, the pressure is 10% more from your fan base when they feel like money's being taken out of their pockets and not being spent the way it should be.
And you also have the Adidas sponsorship coming up.
615-737-1045. Rhett Bryan joins us. We talk some NFL football, some Hall of Fame finalists, some Titans and Jags with him coming up next. Ramona Will rolls on 104.5 The Zone. Final show of the year. And bright and early with us this morning. Rhett Bryan is here in studio. Titans Radio's executive producer.
Hang on a second. Justin, the Jayhawk, this bump music.
This is good.
Like, he's going to roll out 25 and bring in 26 to right. Well, I'm like, he always has good bump music. I'm like, wait a minute. Hang on a second now.
I like it.
Much
Very well
respect,
done.
sir.
Do you have an artist and year for us on this, or a approximate year of when this would have come?
This is the Eagles, correct? And this would have been probably around the time of the Long Run album, their last studio album before they broke up and didn't talk to each other for years, and then hell froze over and they toured in the 90s and beyond.
Nice.
I'm going to say 1978.
Okay.
Boom. Bingo.
That's impressive. That's very impressive that you could just do that. Yeah. Rhett Bryan's musical knowledge as deep as his Titans
Musical knowledge.
which is a compliment, to say the least. All right, we've got a Titans and Jags game, Week 18, to wrap up the
Titans
season.
and Jags.
We're going to talk about here in a few minutes. I wanted to start with Hall of Fame finalists and 15 modern-era players, Rhett, that were announced yesterday, and you get the mix in all of these lists every single year around Super Bowl time of the lifers that have been waiting their turn, like a Darren Woodson, safety for the Dallas Cowboys for 12 seasons from 1992 to 2003. You have the likes of Torrey Holt, obviously from 99 to 08 for the St. Louis Rams, and Jacksonville Jaguars, actually, in 2009, which gets very forgotten about Torrey Holt's time as an NFL wide receiver. And then you get the new first-timers. Drew Brees, eligible for the first time. Finalist, Frank Gore, NFL all-time leading rusher, Frank Gore, who's got just an incredible amount of yards in his career, finished with the Jets in 2020. He is eligible. Eli Manning, a second time
Did you say
around.
NFL all-time leading rusher? Is that what you said?
Frank Gore, right? He's got.
No. Emmitt Smith has that.
Okay.
Emmitt Smith has that, and then right ahead
Frank is higher than
he's
people
third.
think.
He's third all time.
All right.
And what was
My
wild
mistake.
is with his last carry, 16,000 even. 16,000, comma, 000.
You're right.
But, it was Walter Payton that had that for a long time, and then Emmitt Smith eclipsed that.
My
So
bad.
he's actually third. Still, you're in the neighborhood. I'm not trying to play corrective
No,
here.
I would rather be corrected on that. You're good.
But yeah, and the thing about him is I had a conversation about him a few years ago. In fact, it was when the Titans were in Dallas on Monday Night Football. One of the first few times they wore the Stormtroopers uniforms and they beat the Cowboys in Dallas. And I had a conversation with one of the Pro Football Hall of Fame voters and big-time columnists of those things. And we were talking about him. I was like, what about a guy like Frank Gore? He said, well, he's what we call a stat stacker. He said, you have to be a difference maker in your window of time for your team. And he goes, it's not always a world championship, but obviously that's one of the tipping point moments if you're that. But I find it interesting. Here he is as a finalist now, years later. This was conversations 7-8 years ago.
Sure.
But Frank Gore, I don't know that he gets in first time. I think he belongs in there. But we will see about that. It is interesting to see this final 15 candidates. And one of the ones in this that kind of got on my radar, I knew Luke Kuechly had a good career. It was shortened by concussions and those things. So, great follow on X, NFL researcher.
Yeah. One of my favorites.
Luke Kuechly's 8 career seasons, 2012 Defensive Rookie of the Year, 2013 Defensive Player of the Year, All-Pro that year as well, 2014 First Team All-Pro and Pro Bowl, same thing in 15, Pro Bowler in 16, First Team All-Pro and Pro Bowl in 17 and 18, and a Pro Bowl in 19. Like, you don't You don't get those kinds of things if you're not doing something right.
Totally.
Like every one of these guys has an amazing career. I think the one that you probably can immediately whittle off this list is, unfortunately for Patriots and Colts fans, is Adam Vinatieri. They don't put in kickers and punters very much. He'll have his place there at some point, but Marshall Yanda gets my attention. Jari Evans, who was a great guard for the Saints, played 1 year with the Packers. He's been rolling around on this list for a while. In fact, I think Torrey Holt and Darren Woodson are probably the ones with Willie Anderson that have been kind of parsed over for several years in eligibility with this.
Right.
I think Larry Fitzgerald is a first balloter.
I think so too.
I think Drew Brees is probably a first balloter. And then it's up for discussion with the rest. But if Brees gets in, I don't think Eli Manning gets in. I don't think Eli Manning, he'll have his place as well because of 2 world championships and the dents in the armor of the New England Patriots dynasty. But I think maybe Jason Witten might be in as a first-timer. Because, you look at his numbers, good Lord.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I think the interesting thing on Eli Manning, Rhett, is, again, you look at the context of the stats and the numbers for him compared to other Hall of Fame quarterbacks in previous eras of this league, and he stacks up and is ahead of many of them, of guys who are already enshrined, already in the Hall, who played in an era where the forward pass was not as big a part of NFL football. And that, I think, is always the challenging thing when you talk about guys like that, is the importance of being at the top of your era at your position. It's harsh because you're kind of penalizing a guy for just being born the wrong year who may have in previous eras been right at the very top. Mm-hmm. There's no way to really know that. But at the same time, 4 Pro Bowls for Eli Manning isn't a ton. The 2 Super Bowls are, obviously. To me, I think he's in. I think Eli Manning's a Hall of Famer. He is a very divisive figure within all of this.
You think he's in this year?
I don't think he's in this year.
Okay,
I think he gets in eventually.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I can't believe the amount of people that I'll read or listen to that are like, oh, well, he wasn't at the top of his position. He doesn't deserve to be in at all. And that, I think, is just harsh because you are penalizing a guy for just being born the wrong year too much. And it's the fact that he didn't only win 2 world championships, to your point, and you're 100% right. Look at who he beat in those 2 world championships and beating.
It would be the greatest dynasty in the history of the National Football League had those 2 wins not happened. I mean, think about if New England had, that would have, 8 world championships instead of 6?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the other part of it that gets lost in this. And it's not a flashy stat, but when we think of football at any level, what's one of the characteristics? You're tough. You're durable.
We were just talking about that with Tennessee a few minutes ago.
Yeah. That's another story.
Yes, it is.
That was hard to watch last night.
Yeah.
Look up Eli Manning's Ironman stat. Because I'm telling you right now, if I'm a guy stumping for him in that room the night before the NFL honors, look at how many games he played without missing a game. And he's beat up.
210 consecutive regular season starts for the Giants from November 21st, 2004 until November 2017, the 3rd longest streak ever by an NFL quarterback behind only Brett Favre and
Hall of Fame,
Phillip Rivers.
And going to be Hall of Fame.
100%.
I'm just saying.
I think you're right.
There's some context there that, and then you start looking at the numbers, but you look at the 2 world championships.
100%.
But that's impressive. I don't care who you are.
Selection committee may select up to 5 modern era players for the class of 2026. Each must receive a minimum positive vote of 80% for election. Fun class.
I think if we're doing the math, I don't think it's 5 out of this 15.
I don't think so either.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Mm-hmm. I think it's 4 of those and the 1 contributor.
I'm with you.
And the 1 contributor's could be Robert Kraft.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as Jags legend Torrey Holt awaits his Hall of Fame candidacy, let's talk about
Torrey Holt.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. Titans and Jags in Week 18. We'll get Rhett Bryan's thoughts on what stands out about the matchup coming up next.
7:02, good morning on this New Year's Eve, live from the Circus Sports at the Mid-Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. It was a disappointing end of the season yesterday for the Tennessee Vols as they fall to Illinois 30-28 at the end of the 2025 season and finish at 8-5. A 94-yard kick return for a touchdown by Tennessee's Joakim Dodson put the Tennessee Vols up late, 28-27 late in the fourth quarter, but Illinois' quarterback Luke Altmaier led the Illini down the field for a last-second chip shot field goal. The Vols were outgained 417 to 278 yards in the game. Joey Aguilar threw for just 120 yards passing, his lowest total output of the season, and was also sacked 4 times, one of which was a sack fumble recovered in the end zone for an Illinois touchdown. In NFL news, the Cowboys released cornerback Trayvon Diggs yesterday. Should Diggs clear waivers, he would be a free agent and available for pickup just in time for a team making their playoff push. Diggs was Dallas' second-round draft pick back in 2020. And coming up today at 11 a.m. on ESPN, Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt Commodores take on Iowa in the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa Bay. Vanderbilt is without top tight end Eli Stowers, but they are a 4.5-point favorite. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2 on our New Year's Eve edition of Ramon and Will. Second quarter, second hour of the show. No Ramon this morning. We'll see him next year. See, I got to check that box. It's the requirement of being a radio host today. You got to make all the see you next year jokes.
I'll see you next year.
Yeah, they're doing it one an hour.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We just spit that one right at the top.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely
So
right.
Justin's
No
saying,
more. No more
"Done.
cliches.
We're done."
I will keep track. You will get demerits if not.
It's so inside for me that I'm making fun of the cliche, but it's leaning into the cliche.
He's going to have the chalkboard back there with all those things,
right.
like at the end of Pardon the Interruption.
I mean, he's also going to have me do lines of "I will not make bad New Year's jokes." I will not make. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm of the write-offs generation where it's like, I will not chew gum in class. I will not chew gum in class. Wow.
Rhett Bryan in studio. Justin Hawkins, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. We'll talk about NFL Week 18 coming up here in 15 minutes, including Titans and Jags, which we preview right now with Rhett. This is a Jacksonville team that won 7 in a row, has won 7 in a row coming into this game, Rhett. It is a team that we talked a lot about before the season, that if things went right, if they stayed healthy, if Trevor Lawrence had the kind of step forward under Liam Cohen that we have seen from Liam Cohen quarterbacks time and time again, whether that's in college in Kentucky, whether that's with the Los Angeles Rams as a part of the McVay tree, in Tampa with Baker Mayfield, that this could be a pretty good football team. It's impressive to me, Rhett, how good they've been without the guy that they traded up to get in Travis Hunter. And I think a lot of folks that would have expected them to be good this year would have said, oh, Travis Hunter, right? He's going to be the main part of the story. He really has kind of been fine, obviously hurt, and is not going to be back. And they've still been a really good football team this season.
Travis Hunter, because I've watched Jacksonville when I can, just looking back at cut-ups, film, or condensed, games. He was starting to really make a climb into his rookie year of being something special to even make this more than what it's going to be on Sunday, until he got hurt. Like he was going over the middle. In fact, it may have been where he got hurt. He went over the middle against the 49ers to get, it's no man's land and the thud is coming.
Right.
And just went up and got a ball. Anyway.
Had 8 catches for 101 against the Rams in his last game, a 35-7 loss for the Jags.
There you go. You're right about what we have suspected about Liam Cohen kind of unlocking the best in Trevor Lawrence. Because Trevor Lawrence, and fair to him, because he had 4 offensive coordinators in his first 5 years in the league or whatever it is. The big thing that I think is interesting with this is just the efficiency of the operation and also his improved ball security. Now, the ball security, that's something that went back to his days at Clemson. because he had fumble problems, whatever. Anyway, one of the reasons why they're on this heater of 7 in a row, he's had 1 turnover in 5 games. And that was this last Sunday. He had 1 interception against the Colts. He's played clean ball. The other part of it is he's always been a threat with his legs, and his legs have started to do the work. In fact, he's the second leading rusher on the team ahead of Bashal Tootin, the rookie from Virginia Tech. But he had 26 yards and 2 running scores. That was the difference in that win in Lucas Oil Stadium on Sunday. But it's also very interesting to me that Parker Washington is the leading receiver, not Brian Thomas Jr., who has had just, I don't know if you can say a sophomore slump, but he's had some issues with health and whatever. I don't know what all is going on down there because we're not there every day. But Parker Washington has really come on in this to help that offense, especially as of late. And then the other thing, Brenton Strange and some of the other weapons that they have. But the other part of this is they've been able to run the football. I mean, Trevor Etienne, is it Trevor or Travis? Travis, sorry. Mm-hmm. One of those Etiennes. Trevor's in Carolina.
Pending free agent, Travis Etienne.
Yeah. Oh, there's a little nugget. They've been able to run the football. But you just look at what they've been doing. I mean, listen, they're top 5 time of possession, 31 minutes, almost 31 and a half minutes. Number 8 in scoring, 27.1 points per game. No, it doesn't hurt that the defense is what it is. And that's what this thing was built through the free agency and the draft before this other part of it started working in that phase. I mean, number 3 in turnover ratio, plus 12. And then I didn't realize it till we got the stuff from public relations here. They're the number 1 rushing defense in the league.
They are.
86.1 points yards per game. And then top 5 in rushing yards per play, top 10 in passing yards per play. You can get them on third down. They allow 41% on third down. That's interesting. But, I mean, it's stout up front. And Josh Hines-Allen, who had 2 quarterback sacks of Cam back in week 13, leads the team with 8 quarterback sacks. And I think he's top 5 in quarterback pressures. He's got 76 pressures. And then Eric Armstead is a part of that. There's several guys up front. And then in the middle level, there's Cedric Gray is Foye Oluokun. I mean, they got him in free agency from Atlanta, and he's never looked back. I mean, he's 134 tackles, and he's all over the place. And they've got a decent secondary in this. They're playing complementary football. I think that's the biggest part of this because, they've got a kicker and Cam Little that can boot it. I mean, he's got the new NFL record of 68 yards for a field goal. I mean, look, it's just a thing that the Titans know they're going into the Lions' den in this case because that place is going to be loud. They're playing for the number 1 seed in the AFC in a first-round bye and home field advantage path to the Super Bowl going through Jacksonville. The Titans could spoil that, but they're going to need everything. An ace in the deck, man. They're going to have to play. They cannot tackle like they did against the Saints. Better third down conversion efficiency, and they got to be on all their P's and Q's. They have to.
They do, and in a lot of ways, this kind of feels like the final boss level for Cam Ward. And a lot of the good things that we have seen from Cam over the last 7 games and since the bye week and the progress and getting rid of the ball more quickly and being more accurate down the field, Jacksonville is going to test that in a really interesting way because the run game has taken a lot of that pressure off of Cam Ward since the bye week. And the Titans' ability to consistently put themselves in third and manageable, which has been, I feel like the thing Coach Mack has talked about the most on our broadcasts is you get in third and chains and you get in predictable passing situations. You allow the defense, right? Yep. You allow them to come after you and blitz. All of a sudden, you've got to get immediate separation. There are wider splits on the edge of the offensive and defensive lines, and the deck is stacked against you. Well, the deck's not been stacked as much against Cam. You've seen him play better as a result of it. I'm curious to see how he can finish the season. If the Titans can run the football against the best run defense statistically in the league, because you'd love to just be able to do that. But if you're not able to do that, what does that mean for Cam Ward? What does all that progress mean for him in a game where maybe the pressure is back on you to lead this offense and shoulder a lot of the load because you're not going to have as much success in the run game?
Well, here's the part of it. As much as I'd like to see them win a final ball game and to spoil their chances at things, the main thing that I really want is to continue to see the operation of the offense that we've seen him escalate in the last month or so. But I want him to live to tell about it. Because here's the thing. Josh Hines-Allen lines up over on the right side nearly 75% of his snaps this year. And that's over there in Dan Moore territory. And I need Dan Moore to, whether you need help or whatever it is, to keep as many people as you can off of number one. Because that's the wild thing in all of this. So I've put together a piece for Titans Countdown on Sunday with some of the good that's happened in 2025 for the Titans. And it's all these rookies that have contributed that are not rookies anymore because they played an incredible amount of snaps. Cam Ward's played every snap, 1,002 snaps of offense, every snap on offense.
That's incredible.
I'd like to see him ride that out with a complete game, complete season, with whatever the final score is. But yeah, of the 13 rookies that have contributed, and I'm talking about anybody from Cam Ward to Dorian Mausi on special teams and in between all these rooks, special teams reps, and whatever their phase is, over 5,000 snaps by the rookie class and the undrafteds.
Wow.
Now, that also speaks to some of why the record is what it is, but there's valuable experience. You hear the other thing you hear Mac talk about all the time is time on task. And you can't manufacture it. They have a lot of time on task because even with the Femi Oladejos who got knocked out and have not returned, and we've seen Kevin Winston Jr. get lost in the San Francisco game, they still had 300 or 400 reps, 300 or 400 snaps between special teams and defense. So it added up really quick, especially when how much Alec Manor has played, how much Jim Dike has played, Gunnar Helm. But it's impressive to go 5,000 plus snaps. That's a lot. And that's why I've been saying for weeks, these guys aren't rooks anymore, man. Mm-hmm. They have experience. It's one of the reasons why Cedric Gray is doing as well as he is, because he didn't really have a rookie year. He missed everything leading up to and in the first 10 games. And, the last 7 games of his reindoctrination was just trying to, find his way. It was like freshman orientation. Now, because nobody really expected him to be what this is, but it's clear he, A, put in the work, and B, his position coach, Frank Bush, really has done a fantastic job getting those guys ready to play, because James Williams is evidence of that as well.
100%. Rhett Bryan with us in studio, Titans Radio's executive producer, Titans and Jags for the final time in the 2025 season for the first game of Titans football in the calendar year of 2026. Rhett, Happy New Year. Appreciate you as always.
Happy New Year to you, and let's go do one more road trip, and then we'll call this a book and be done with that chapter.
Yes, sir. Love it. All right, there's Rhett Bryan with us in studio this morning. 3 games that interest me in the NFL will preview for you coming up next, starting, of course, as always, locally with Titans and Jags. Some more nuggets on what to watch for and how Cam Ward will be challenged by the Jags defense. We'll dive into that next. Hey, it's Will Bowling for my friends at Lee Company. Are you having home electrical issues? Well, available 24/7, the Lee Company team, they handle electrical problems and more in short order. From routine repairs on outlets and switches to fixture upgrades and generator installations, Lee Company's award-winning electricians will get the job done right the first time. Contact Lee Company for all your home electrical needs at leecompany.com. That's leecompany.com to schedule with an experienced electrician and the pros that have over 80 years of experience serving Middle Tennessee. Lee Company is available 24/7 with 14 community locations in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Alabama. And that means when you have an untimely issue around the house, you go to their website, you schedule an appointment. They're going to be there quickly to make sure things are working the way they're supposed to. That's leecompany.com to schedule now with an experienced electrician. Lee Company, all you need. Ruana Will continues on 104.5 The Zone and, of course, on Zone TV. At Ramona Will, at Will_bowling, 615-737-1045. We stream the show live for you, of course, on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. The F&M Bank chat open. And we recommend you go to the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel for the lively community that, as always, hanging out there talking about Titans, Vols, whatever they decide to talk about. We appreciate all of you for finding us, however you are finding us this morning on this New Year's Eve. Jags have won 7 in a row. The Titans are coming to town this weekend in Week 18. First matchup between these two teams was dominated by Jacksonville, and really probably, Justin, would you say, is the lowest point this offense has had since the bye week?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I mean, 188 total yards, 2 turnovers.
They couldn't do anything.
It is probably the floor of what Cam Ward has been since the bye week. Well, the beauty of divisional matchups, and you get to do it again. Josh Hines-Allen has generated 76 pressures this season, as Rhett Bryan just told you. That is 4th most in the NFL. I'm going to preview 3 NFL games for you, Week 18. Of course, we'll start locally with the Tennessee Titans and what is important for them moving into an important finish to the season. Let's start with the Jags on offense. Titans on defense. Parker Washington is someone that Rhett just mentioned. Got to get him on the ground. Sounds simple. I promise you it won't be. This is where the Titans' issues in just open field tackling create a difficult matchup with Jacksonville. In the last 2 weeks, Parker Washington has 130 yards after the catch. That only trails Puka Nacua and Bijan Robinson this season. He leads the NFL, getting into the analytics, according to Next Gen Stats, in yards after the catch over expected. With 82, had the most of any player in one game in that department in the Week 16 win for the Jacksonville Jaguars in Denver against the Broncos. He had 70 yards after catch over expected. I'm not 100% sure how you measure what is expected. I just know the people a lot smarter than me do it. It's a low bar, but people a lot smarter than me saying that Parker Washington is consistently able to stay up when he is got the ball in his hands. Trevor Lawrence has certainly rounded a corner, and in the 7-game winning streak that Jacksonville has had, he's averaging 251 passing yards per game. 1,700 yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 8.2 yards per attempt. He has been sacked 13 times in that span, oftentimes as he is looking to run and just being hit as he scrambles. Because as Rhett just mentioned with us as well, Trevor Lawrence can run, and he is starting to utilize his legs more as a weapon within Liam Cohen's offense. In the last 7 games, all of which the Jags have won, going back to the Week 11 win over the Los Angeles Chargers, where they just stomped L.A. 35-6. Trevor Lawrence has 5 rushing touchdowns, 4.9 yards per carry, 36 rushes for 176 yards. This has been a problem for the Titans in being able to neutralize the run game element of mobile quarterbacks. And with the Titans secondary playing the way that it has over the last few weeks, this is just a tough matchup. Yeah. It is. I mean, it is why Jacksonville is favored by 12.5 points in this game. It is why Jacksonville is in the mix for a 1 seed. Can you get the guy on the ground, and can you tackle in space against the likes of Parker Washington and the 2 running backs, Travis Etienne and Basil Tootin? The key for the Titans defense, you just got to tackle better than you did this past weekend against New Orleans.
Too. And they have not been able to generate the pressure. Jalen Harrell's kind of come on a little bit in the past few games. Jeffrey Simmons is Jeffrey Simmons. He just needs the help with Devondre Sweat on his onto the side of him. It's just you're not getting a lot of help that you were. Obviously, no Draymond Jones anymore. That was kind of like that really good piece on the other side of the line there. Arden Key has kind of been a no-show lately. You got to find a way to get the pressure to alleviate kind of that the pressure on the back end, which is what Parker Washington is doing. And Brian Thomas Jr. has kind of been up and down, but the biggest thing for me is to see what Jeffrey Simmons is going to be able to do by himself.
Sure.
Because outside of that, you really don't have a lot. And they had a really bad tackling display last week. And I can't remember the guy's name. Not the estimate touchdown, but the one that
Kevon Hall.
That fumbled into the end zone. Yeah.
And now he came back and punched it out at the very end. But
there was five. I think there was 5 missed tackles on that play. You cannot have that many missed tackles on one play if you're expecting to keep them even to a field goal. Titans history is typically bend, don't break, and they're breaking.
Sure. Jalen Harrell has been good. I know Gerard Wilson talked about him yesterday, said he just made plays when his numbers have been called. Certainly has put himself in the mix to be in this rotation again next season. And a string of games now with a half a sack at least, where he's been able to impact the opposing quarterback. So I think you got to give him some credit within that and the way Jalen Harrell's played down the stretch. But certainly, you just got to tackle better to give yourself any kind of chance against Jacksonville, as the Jags just have so many yak guys that are not going to get on the ground the first or second time that you try to tackle them. I think when the Titans had the football, this is the most interesting part of this game. And obviously at this point in the season and the way things have gone, Cam Ward's development is priorities 1, 2, and 3. Is him continuing to get better and him continuing to trend in the right direction. Cam Ward is starting to develop better instincts as plays continue and as he improvises. So in the month of December, Cam Ward has thrown 5 touchdown passes. That's tied for third most in the league, and 0 interceptions on throws over 2.5 seconds. Third most touchdown passes on throws of over 2.5 seconds in the first 12 games of the season. Cam had 5 touchdowns on those kinds of throws. He also had 5 interceptions on throws of over 2.5 seconds. You are starting to see Cam Ward understand where he's got to go with the football. At times, the first row of the stands, when there isn't something there at the ends of plays. I think that's interesting. I think it's significant. I think it is a good sign about the instincts of Cam Ward starting to adjust to professional football versus what he could get away with at the ends of plays against college defenses. Even without Travis Hunter on the back end, this Jags defense has been excellent. This is the number 31 passing offense for the Titans against the NFL's number 10 defense in terms of pass efficiency and yards per attempt allowed. The middle of the field is locked down for Jacksonville. I'm curious to see if Cam Ward can keep the ball out of harm's way against one of the better coverage linebackers in the league. Devin Lloyd has 5 interceptions this season, including a pick 6. Foye Oluokun, who Rhett just mentioned in here a few minutes ago as well, has 134 tackles to lead this team. They are number 1 against the run and number 5 in yards per carry allowed. Josh Hines-Allen did not play, at times has been out. I don't think he played in the... Or no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong part of my notes. Eric Armstead did not play in the first matchup against the Titans. Josh Hines-Allen, who Rhett mentioned, had 2 sacks against the Titans last time around. He has 8 sacks this season. 5 other players on this Jacksonville defense have multiple sacks this year, including Eric Armstead's 5.5. He did not play in the first matchup against Tennessee when these two teams met about a month and a half ago in Nissan Stadium. 21 interceptions for Jacksonville is second best of the NFL. They have forced 30 turnovers. Greg Newsome on one side, Monteric Brown on the other, a solid nickel and Jerry and Jones at the inside. The safeties are veterans at Andrew Wingard and Eric Murray. They are experienced on the back end. Here's my question for Titans and Jaguars in Week 18 on Sunday afternoon. How does Cam Ward handle a game that's going to be more on him than any other since the bye week?
Don't make it complicated.
Well, it might have to be, is the point. Like, the complicated part is, I don't think you're going to get the same contribution from the run game that you have since the bye in Week 10. Cam Ward having a run game to take some of the pressure off him is pivotal to his success and this offense's success right now. The cut up and the super cut of Cam Ward's highlights this year, I think you can put up there with some of the best quarterbacks in this league. for a lot of the season, those moments have been few and far between over the course of 4 quarters and one football game. But his most consistent performances have been when he's got a run game. It's not rocket science. That's not super high-level analysis. It's just where he is at this point. I'm very interested to see where all of the progress and all of the good kind of comes together now. And again, like we mentioned a few minutes ago, in really kind of a boss level finish to the season. One of the bigger challenges that you're going to see all year on the road, divisional environment, team that doesn't like you, a defense that is uniquely positioned to slow you down. What are you going to do? Kind of the final exam of his rookie season and the last impression, Justin, of what we're going to see from him moving forward into a very important offseason for not only him, but for this organization.
Yeah, I also don't want to see the Titans going away from the run game like they did in the second half last week. You're up going into halftime, and then you see the Saints commit to the run game while you kind of disappear. I don't want to see that this week. I want to see Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears have a good complement to each other because that's, like you said, that's what Cam needs. But also don't keep it complicated. You're finding some success with these checkdowns with Chig or with Gunnar Helm. And you have that big playability that you saw last week with Mason Kinsey, who made an immaculate catch there. Mm-hmm. And then you had a good down-the-field catch to Chim Dike. Like, you're having these successful plays. The thing about when he scrambles is there's the good plays and the bad plays. There's good because he's becoming available. He's finding those down the field options, but also because he's scrambling so much, the field kind of gets smaller and smaller. So yes, you have those interceptions as well. So I just want them to, in the final game of the season, let's not make it so complicated and find the open receiver and not have to have 4, almost 5 seconds to pass, mainly because he's scrambling.
Yeah, somebody's got to get open though.
That is also the case.
I mean, there's not always an open receiver. That's the point, right?
Yeah. Oh, he's also getting pressure. I'd like to know what when the game ends on Sunday and we dive into the stats next week. I'd like to see what the pressure rate percentage is for how quickly he's getting that pressure.
Titans have allowed a pressure rate of 37.2% on Cam Ward's dropbacks this season, the 9th highest rate in the NFL. You know what's crazy about that? Next Gen Stats tells us that's actually the lowest pressure rate the Titans have allowed in the last 5 seasons.
Okay.
Being 9th highest in terms of pressure rate allowed is the best pressure rate the Tennessee Titans have allowed in the last 5 seasons.
That's a little surprising.
How so?
I mean, the way this offensive line has played this season, had much higher expectations than the way they've actually played. I don't know how much you attribute that to Cam, the quarterback.
I think it's got to be part of it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's made these decisions like last week. I mean, he stepped up. I guess he stepped back into the pocket and right into Chase Young.
Yeah.
So, you have those kind of pressures. So, you alleviate some pressure, but then you also back up into it. So, I think there's kind of back and forth there. So, I get it, but it's also a little surprising.
I think it's interesting what the plan looks like for this offensive line moving forward into the offseason. How they handle those 5 guys and what you surround Cam with, I think kind of gives us the answer on how much Cam can help himself in terms of taking unnecessary hits, right? If they truly believe that Cam Ward's ability to speed up the processing, get the ball out more quickly, they may think that Dan Moore deserves another season at left tackle. My hunch is he's probably going to be your left tackle again next year, the way that contract is set up with the dead money. Do you feel like Lloyd Cushenberry, coming off of the Achilles, has made enough progress over the latter part of this season, the end of this season after being injured and kind of working his way back at the beginning? I don't know.
I feel like Corey Levin's done a really good job in his place.
Absolutely.
Enough to say you can move on.
Can move on and start Corey Levin in the future?
Yeah, or somebody else.
I think Corey Levin is a great swing interior offensive lineman.
Or he's a good option if you need him for a bridge year, per se.
I just don't think the Titans are going to be in the market for bridge linemen much longer, right? Unless it's out of necessity. Like Dan Moore being a bridge to maybe a younger left tackle, or if Dan Moore gets coached up, takes the next step, is still a young player. He's about the same age as a lot of the super senior linemen that you could draft anyway. We'll see. The point is, I'm interested to see how this front office decides to address offensive line versus how much you address skill positions. The Chicago Bears had the blueprint this past offseason on being aggressive to go build Caleb Williams an offensive line because that was a quarterback that struggled to understand the speed with which he had to get rid of the ball. Instead of trying to change him, it feels like they let him be Caleb and said, well, let's just get you better protection than to allow you to understand that speed in real time. Caleb Williams leads the league in longest time to throw this season. He's still holding the ball for a while. Okay, well, then let's go get him an offensive line that gives him a little bit of grace, allowing him to hold on to the ball for a little bit. That's one of the forks in the road, one of many the Titans have this offseason. Would you rather Cam Ward be a faster processor, be a quarterback that can play more in quick game, be someone that can get the ball out more quickly, or do you give him a little bit more grace to say, let's build you a better line? That way, you know what? You can hold the ball for a little bit longer and improvise a little bit off script and then find somebody deep downfield. We're okay with you being that. Let's put you in the best position to do it. The answer is probably somewhere in between the two.
Yeah, I think the only difference would be that Chicago had the better receivers already.
True.
In their lineup.
Very
so
fair.
then they had the ability to go build that offensive line while
fair.
still also having the receivers. The Titans got to do both.
Yep. Coming up, two more games that interest me of NFL Week 18. A couple of winner-take-all games that we'll break down in the NFL coming up next. Ramona will wrap it up the first half of your Wednesday morning of your New Year's Eve as the week where it feels like we are governed by the same laws as the airport continues. What I mean by that is, like, it feels like there's no rules and nobody knows what day it is. So it's Wednesday. Tomorrow is the beginning of the new year. If I just broke that news to you, you can thank me later. You're welcome. Couple of winner-take-all games in the NFL this weekend. 3 of them, to be exact, 2 of them interest me. I just got to be honest. Panthers-Bucks does not really move the needle for me all that much. Like, I don't see either of those teams. I know the Panthers have some good wins this year. I shouldn't be so dismissive of a team that's playing better football, who has a coach that I like in Dave Canales. I think that there are bigger fish to fry in the NFL this weekend, including Saturday night in Santa Clara. Rematch of a week 1 game between Seattle and San Fran. We've got some teams playing each other like twice in 3 weeks, twice in 4 weeks, who don't see each other until like week 12. And then we've got Seattle and San Fran, who played in week 1 and are now just totally different teams. That was a 17-13 win for San Francisco over the Seattle Seahawks in week 1. And that was a very Sam Darnold performance. It's not totally fair to Sam, but it's the reality of who he is and where the Seahawks are as a football team. That guy is just under the brightest and most powerful microscope that we have in NFL media. To me, the 49ers offense, the way they're playing, I think the best offense in the NFL right now, and the Seattle Seahawks defense, among the best defenses in the NFL right now. To me, those two are kind of stalemates, which leaves Sam Darnold and the Seahawks offense against a young, banged-up, Robert Saleh San Francisco 49ers defense. Now, when healthier at the beginning of the season, San Fran held Sam Darnold to 16 of 23 for 150. In his last 5 games, Sam Darnold, even in wins, has not lit the world on fire by any stretch of the imagination. Sam Darnold, in the last 5, 63% completion, 7 yards per attempt, 6 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, 14 sacks taken, and an 85.6 QB rating. The problem for San Francisco is they cannot touch opposing quarterbacks. And the Seahawks are pretty good at protecting Sam Darnold. Seattle, number 4 in pressure rate allowed offensively. San Francisco, number 31 in the NFL. A league that has 32 teams, mind you. Number 31 in the NFL in pressure rate. Now, Seattle is going to be able to stop the run and I think slow down Christian McCaffrey. I also don't know how healthy Christian McCaffrey is. My other question on this game. Seattle, number 1 in yards per carry allowed defensively. If there's any defense that can make Brock Purdy beat them, it's them. This game just comes down to Sam Darnold for me. Can Sam Darnold lead the Seattle Seahawks in a road game into Santa Clara, take the 1 seed, and prove the doubters wrong that he is a legit franchise quarterback that can win you a Super Bowl on a contending team? I like San Francisco in this game, especially considering Adam Schefter says George Kittle has a chance to be back. We'll see. But Sam Darnold has got a lot to prove, and it's not totally fair to him. Welcome to being a $100 million quarterback of the National Football League. A wise man once said, that's what the money's for. You get paid a lot of money to be criticized, hyperanalyzed, and asked to meet the moment over and over and over and over. And this is another opportunity for Sam Darnold to do exactly that. I tend to believe that the San Fran offense is just too good right now that you're going to have to ask Sam Darnold to do a lot to win this football game. Either that or they've got to run the football as effectively as they did last week, and I don't think that's going to happen against the 49ers defense.
Yeah, he's got to do it in the big game. He couldn't really do it last year with a really good Minnesota team, a very well-balanced Minnesota team, get to the playoffs. Just couldn't win the big game. He's got to do it this time because this is with the 1 seed on the line here. And they didn't get the 1 seed last. No, that was Detroit, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, because they couldn't.
Because they played Minnesota in Week 18.
So how can you right those wrongs this year that you couldn't get right last year?
Yeah.
Because if you do that, I think Seattle, with the way that McDonald's defense is playing, they've got a chance to be the Super Bowl contender.
It's a really good defense.
Yeah.
Really, 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 really good
And they
defense.
have a really well-balanced offense as well with Charbonnet and Smith and Jigba.
Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, it's a really well-balanced offense.
Last season in Week 18, in this exact same spot, it was just on a Sunday night instead of a Saturday night. Against the Detroit Lions on the road, battle for the 1 seed. Sam Darnold, just to remind you, was 18 of 41, completing 44% of his passes for 166 yards, a 55.5 quarterback rating. Just wasn't good enough. Wasn't close to good enough. And then in a 27-9 loss to the LA Rams in the first round of the playoffs, he was 25 of 40 for 245, a touchdown and a pick. Took 9 sacks in that game and had a quarterback rating of 77.6. You want to be $1 million quarterback? Got to go win games like this.
Probably not going to take 9 sacks, though.
Got to at least give your team a chance at games like this. Correct.
Yeah.
He's not going to take 9 sacks against the 49ers.
That would literally...
That is something I will promise you.
That would be
It's
a
not gonna
third
happen.
of their total for the season if they had 9
that's right.
sacks.
Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Is this a good matchup for the Steelers? I don't know that it is. Ravens have utilized man coverage a third of the time this season, 7th highest rate in the NFL. They do allow the 5th most yards per play when utilizing man. Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh offense has struggled against man coverage all season. Aaron Rodgers gets man coverage in 2025. 5th lowest completion rate in the NFL at 50.8%. 12th fewest yards per attempt. Can Derrick Henry have a classic January Derrick Henry game to carry the Baltimore Ravens? I think that's their pathway to victory. He has generated 1,115 rushing yards after contact this season. That's second most, only behind Jonathan Taylor. 4th best in terms of yards after contact per carry, with backs of at least 100 carries. Since joining the Ravens in 2024, Derrick Henry has 2,475 rushing yards after contact. You know how insane that is? 2,475 yards after contact in the last 2 seasons. That is nearly 400 more than the next closest player. Pittsburgh 13th in yards per attempt allowed on the ground. Now, they did give up 217 rushing to Baltimore in week. I wrote down the wrong week. Earlier this season when they played Baltimore. Pittsburgh was outgained 420 to 318, and they won the game. Here's the difference. And this can be the X factor you talk about with your buddies as you watch this game if you're watching Sunday Night Football with people. Baltimore in the red zone is bad, really bad this season. They are 29th in red zone offense. The Steelers are number 6 in red zone defense. This is just the classic kind of game where there's going to be like 5 to 8 plays that just whoever wins those 5 to 8 plays is going to win this football game. Because I don't think either offense is overly dynamic at this point of the season with a kind of up in the air Lamar Jackson health-wise. Back contusion on December 21st, didn't play in the win in Green Bay. John Harbaugh says it's to be determined whether or not he goes. Like, Baltimore is going to have to rely on Derrick Henry to just get tough yards in the red zone in order to have a chance to win this football game. TJ Watt's status also up in the air. If he plays, that's obviously a major boost for Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh to cover a plus 3.5. I have no idea who wins this game. I just think it's close. I think it's within a field goal. I think it comes down to how many 6s versus 3s does Baltimore get when they're in the red zone. That, to me, is the difference.
Lamar Jackson's expected to practice today, so that's a little bit of good news for them. I think if he is able to go on Sunday night, I think that's kind of the difference maker there. It's really just there's no Darnell Washington, there's no DK Metcalf. I just don't know what the Steelers' offense is without them. I don't know.
Coming up.
It's not enough.
Yeah, we'll see. Coming up, Belmont head coach Casey Alexander joins me. Not only is there a big game to preview for the Belmont Bruins against Bradley coming up tomorrow, little New Year's Day hoops. If you want some basketball to watch tomorrow in Nashville, Casey Alexander, a great coach and person to talk to who has sustained success at a really good program in an era of college athletics where it is harder than ever to sustain success. Love talking with Casey. We'll do that for the first time this basketball season. Coming up next. If you are looking to relocate or move in the new year, you got to make sure that you are getting peace of mind to take away the stress of a very anxiety-driven process. Hey, it's Will Bowling. Bernie Gallerani and Bernie Gallerani Real Estate, they're not that big national agent that doesn't know you, your neighborhood. Bernie Gallerani understands there's no one-size-fits-all. Bernie's going to give you peace of mind as you look to relocate because he guarantees to sell your home in 30 days or less, or he'll buy it. There's no risk to you. Bernie Gallerani will let you out of the contract at any time. He is the real estate agent who has the 30-day guarantee to sell your home. If not, he'll buy it from you. So if you're ready to sell your home, start by knowing its true value. Bernie Gallerani's new home value estimator is fast, free, and easy. Just head to BernieGallerani.com. Right at the top of the homepage, click on how much is your home really worth. You're going to get the power. You're going to get the expertise of Bernie Gallerani Real Estate working for you. 615-428-2644. Make the resolution to get the very best players on your team and the very best leader of your real estate process and journey. That's my friend Bernie Gallerani of Bernie Gallerani Real Estate. You can head to his website online at BernieGallerani.com or call him at 615-428-2644.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, and Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
One of the largest sports books east of the Mississippi, Circa Sports Kentucky, is now open. Catch all your favorite games on an 80-foot screen with stadium-style seating and live VSiN broadcast daily. Circa Sports, now open at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
My dad and I used to golf together all the time, but when he hurt his back, it was over.
To have your son want to spend time with you is amazing. That's why my chronic back pain has been so heartbreaking. Surgery, fused bones, long recovery. No way, not for me. A friend recommended stem cells, so I gave Kellum Stem Cell Institute a call.
I'm glad you're out on the course.
Yeah, it's really good.
Call the Kellum Stem Cell Institute today. Swing still looks just okay though.
Selling your home can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. There are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Work with the #1 real estate team in the U.S. and close with confidence. Go to markspain.com today.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
8:02, good morning on this New Year's Eve live from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. It was a disappointing end of the season yesterday as the Tennessee Vols fall to Illinois 30-28 and end the 2025 season at 8-5. A 94-yard kick return for a touchdown by Tennessee's Joakim Dotson put the Vols up 28-27 late in the fourth quarter, but Illinois' rushing attack led the Illini down the field for a last-second chip shot field goal. The Vols were outgained 417 yards to 278 yards in the game. Joey Aguilar threw for just 121 yards passing, which marked his lowest total of the season. He was also sacked 4 times, one of which was a sack fumble recovered in the end zone for an Illinois touchdown. In other NFL news, the Cowboys released cornerback Trayvon Diggs yesterday. Should Diggs clear waivers, he would become a free agent and available for pickup just in time for a team making their playoff push. Diggs was Dallas' second-round draft pick in 2020. Also, per Ian Rappaport, NFL Insider this morning, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson is expected to return to practice today. He was out last week with a back injury. Coming up today at 11 a.m. on ESPN, Diego Pavia, the Vanderbilt Commodores, take on Iowa in the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa Bay. Vanderbilt is without standout tight end Eli Stowers, but is a 4.5-point favorite. For all your foundation repair waterproof needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Away we go into the second half, hour number 3 of our New Year's Eve edition of Ramon and Will. Ramon Foster with the morning off. He did kind of work like a 15-hour day yesterday, so we figured we'd give him the day off today. Doing the show in the morning, calling Tennessee and Illinois last night in the Music City Bowl on the Vol Network. We'll talk with Brent Hubs about that game as well. Coming up here in 15 minutes, I'm Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, our producer, as we are pleased to be joined this morning by the head coach of Belmont men's basketball, Casey Alexander, kind enough to give us a few minutes here on this New Year's Eve. Coach, good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
We're good, and man, it has been so much fun watching your team, Coach, play this season. I'm excited to get back on the broadcast with Steve Lehman, with Greg Sage, with the great crew coming up here in a couple of weeks for the first time this season. Tomorrow night, a big win against Bradley. We'll talk about 6 p.m. Here in the Music City. But, Coach, you guys are 12-2 to start the season. I'm just curious what you like the most here early as you get into conference play about your team.
Yeah, it's been a good run so far. A long way to go, as we both know. What I like the most has just been the consistency of our team and the balance on both ends of the floor. We've long been known as a quality offensive team with the ability to put points on the board and play with a lot of efficiency, but have some really good individual pieces defensively, and the guys are playing really hard on that end. And we've actually been better defensively than offensively, and that's given us kind of a really good kind of 1-2 punch through these first 14 games.
Coach, how big of a priority was that for you guys in the offseason? How did you go about addressing taking that next step as a program on the defensive end of the floor?
Yeah, honestly, it's been building over the last 3 years since we've joined the Valley. It was kind of the biggest surprise when we walked into the league. I think competitively and from a roster standpoint, we were good enough to win a lot of games. But our objective is to win championships, and to do that in this league, you've got to be physically prepared. You've got to be big, strong, tough, and able to defend. And so it's just kind of been a natural process for us in recruiting, where we've tried to build up that side of the ball and just change our roster a little bit. We're bigger than we've ever been, more physical than we've ever been. We look a lot more like a Valley team is supposed to look without sacrificing the offensive end.
You guys ranked top 50 nationally in 9 statistical categories. That's 7th in defensive rebounds per game, 9th nationally in field goal percentage defense, 10th in effective field goal percentage, assists per game, top 30 nationally there. Casey Alexander, Belmont head coach, with us. Who do you credit individually, Coach? Who have been some of those players that have maybe stood out, newcomers, guys who have been in the program, as guys who are setting that tone defensively specifically?
Yeah, I think the main answer to that is it's a collective group. We have several guys come back from last year's team that could have left and gone elsewhere and made really good money, but they chose to come back. And so it's really a nucleus of guys 4 or 5 guys that got great minutes last season that are all back and with another year under their belt in our program. And it feels a little bit old school. You know, you go sign guys and they stick around for 2 or 3 years and you're able to build something is exactly where we are. You know, if you want to talk specifics, you know, Tyler Lundblade commands the most attention and gets the most conversation because of what he did as the nation's best 3-point shooter last year. And he's back and he's playing very well. But it's really our inside guys that have carried us, in my opinion. Sam Orem, Drew Sharnowski, and Brigham Rogers, all 3 guys, 6'9", and really, really formidable guys in there on both ends of the floor. We've missed Sam here the last week. He didn't play in our last game, so we're hopeful we can get him back soon.
Belmont head coach Casey Alexander, our guest. Coach, Tyler Lundblade, season high 26 for him last time out in Monday at Indiana State. Double figures for him in 17 of his last 18 games, including the first 14 games of this season. For a guy like that, Coach, who is such a good 3-point shooter, who has such a strength, how did he continue to improve this offseason? How do you go about helping a player like that take it to the next level?
Yeah, well, really what he does is he just helps us more. I mean, it's hard to, if you look back at his history, it's hard for him to put in more work. Like, the guy spends more time on his craft than anybody I've ever coached by far. He's very diligent on the floor, off the floor, and taking care of his body and doing what he's supposed to do to, you know, to have a professional mentality. So he has just continued to work and perform at a really high level. But what he does for everybody else is he's, you know, we like to say it this way, he just has a lot of gravity on offense. And he commands so much attention from the defense that it really provides opportunities for other players. Makes life easier for them, makes life easier for me on the offensive end of the floor because he's out there.
You guys played a thriller at Indiana State on Monday night, Coach. I was tuned into this one, and Monday Night Football got relegated to the computer or the tablet. And Belmont, Indiana State, and this ending was on the main TV. I know you guys obviously frustrated with the result and the way that this game went, but how proud are you of the way your team made some really big shots late in this game? A comeback at the end of overtime that ultimately did fall short, but at the end of regulation, the end of overtime, some big pressure moments that you guys met the moment in. Kind of what do you take away from that game overall and how you move forward from it?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a reminder, you know, over the course of a 32-game season where you're playing every 2 or 3 days once you get into conference play, you know, you're going to see it all. You know, there's going to be days where you play great, days where you play poorly, days where the other team plays great, where they play poorly, you're all at home, you're on the road. You've got injuries, you've got flu, you've got all kinds of things that factor into the journey of a season. And, you know, and this was a new experience for us. This was, gosh, the first close game we've played in a long time. We're on the road. It's a conference game. We're playing without one of our best players. And so there are a lot of circumstances that you have to deal with internally in those moments. And so, yeah, it was, you know, there are a lot of things out there that we watched on video yesterday that we need to clean up and that we, you know, have some regret about and wish we could take back. But there are definitely some good things, as you mentioned, finding a way to stay in the game and making some big shots and getting ourselves into overtime. And literally with a shot on goal at the buzzer, you know, to win the game. We could feel a whole lot differently if we make a layup at the end of the game at the buzzer to win it. But we didn't. So here we are. We're ready to start over.
Big matchup tomorrow night, Coach. Bradley in town. They are 3-0 in the Valley. They've won 7 straight, including a win over Evansville last time out. Among the NCAA leaders in turnover margin, what is the key to limiting the turnovers against a defense like theirs?
Yeah, that's a tough question for us because it's been our Achilles heel all season on the offensive end. Like when we get shots on goal, I think we're 3rd in the country right now in effective field goal percentage, but we have turned it over at an alarming rate. So that is definitely a scary situation for me, considering that's the strength of their defense. They're literally one of the best in the country. They've got a player, Jaquan Johnson, who's number 2 in the country in steals. And so a lot of the game will probably be determined, you know, by who can exert their will in those situations. We've got to be better long-term and short-term if we want to be where we want to be at the end of the season.
Coach, I always love asking you kind of some of these big picture, you know, program building questions, because you've been a part of a program at Belmont as a player, as an assistant, as a head coach that has sustained success over a really long period of time. You guys have taken a step into the Missouri Valley while college athletics totally changed. and you've not missed a beat. You've had a lot of success and been so consistent. It feels like, Coach, today in college athletics, kind of everyone's ceilings may be higher. I think many would also say floors are maybe lower, too, in the year-to-year kind of dispersion you can get, especially in a sport like yours. What has allowed Belmont basketball to stay so consistent and adapt to this new era of college athletics, all while taking a step up in the Missouri Valley in the process?
Yeah, Belmont itself is the answer to that, and just the history of the program. It's changed for us quite a bit, just like it has everybody else. It's not business as usual. We're not doing it. We are doing it the same way we always have, but the circumstances around us has changed significantly. And so, in the midst of all the change, it's been really important for us that we stay true to who we are. We recruit this, even if it's out of the portal, we still want to recruit the same kind of players, the same kind of people that would be, that are connected to Belmont or have affinity for the Belmont program and the culture that we've had and the winning tradition that we've had. And so, even though faces have changed a little bit more than they would have historically, we're still largely the same program. A lot of the same assistant coaches. Same great place, same great city. So we still have a lot going for us that helps us sustain the success.
Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. against Bradley, Curb Event Center, Belmont and Bradley, a matchup of two great Missouri Valley teams. If you're in Nashville, you want to spend New Year's night, watch some really good hoops. This is the place you need to be. Coach Casey Alexander, our guest this morning on the show. Coach, great to catch up with you again. Looking forward to talking more about your team as the season goes, and thank you for the time as always.
Hey, well, appreciate it a lot. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Casey Alexander with us here this morning. A little bit of Belmont hoops. That team is a lot of fun to watch. A lot of fun to watch. If you have not watched Tyler Lundblade, and I'm doing the rest of the guys a disservice by just mentioning him, but him specifically is a sharpshooter. Like so much fun. The kind of player that comes around not all the time, right? Really, really fun program to watch. Fun style of basketball. Casey's the best, and really wish Belmont the best. Tomorrow night, big one. You'll be in the building. Curb Event Center. Coming up, Brent Hubs of VolQuest will join us. The transfer portal about to open this weekend for Tennessee football. What changes need to come after an 8-5 season ended last night for Tennessee in the Music City Bowl? Brent Hubs joins us next. Ramona Will continues on this Wednesday morning, New Year's Eve show. Ramon Foster with the morning off. Justin Hawkins, our producer, myself, Will Bowling, joined as we are typically on Fridays on this Wednesday that feels like a little bit of a Friday to us and maybe to you as well. Brent Hubs of AllQuest here, recapping a Tennessee season that came to an end last night here in the Music City. Brent, Happy New Year. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Will. Happy New Year to everybody.
I'm curious, Brent, from your perspective, what surprised you in this game last night? I think maybe not a lot of people would have been shocked that Illinois won the game. Bowl games, you kind of flip a coin, and, you know, with as much Tennessee was missing, you never know. But I personally couldn't believe how slow Tennessee's offense was, Brent, to get out of the gate. What surprised you last night?
I think the biggest surprise to me was probably that Tennessee's inability to get Illinois in third and long situations. I thought that there would be times where Illinois might make some plays on Tennessee's secondary if Tennessee got into some man situations or things like that. But I did not anticipate Illinois averaging 5+ yards a play on first down and really never getting behind the sticks. Illinois was going to play three safeties and play that kind of balloon coverage that we've seen before and test Tennessee's patience. Tennessee wasn't patient enough until they got down 10 points in the third quarter, and then they decided to run the ball. And when they really focused in on running the ball with Star Thomas, they got going offensively and got Illinois out of rhythm. But, you know, you look at the first half, Illinois did exactly what they wanted to do. They had a limited possession half. Tennessee had the football 3 times in the first half. The fourth was a 20-second drive. I don't count that at the end. And Tennessee had to punt once, and they missed a field goal once, and that was the half. And that's exactly the way Illinois wanted to play. Tennessee could not get off the field because they could not get Illinois into third and long situations often enough. 7 of Illinois' 13 third down plays were for 4 yards or less. When you're living in 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 4, that's an much easier conversion. It limits the pass rush. It neutralizes a lot of things, and Illinois worked the middle of the field and the shallow stuff underneath to perfection last night.
Brent, you really hate, if you're a Tennessee fan, the way the season ended for Joey Aguilar and the good that he did for this program, the production of this entire offense over the season's well documented, but he ends without touching the ball in the final 11:40 of the game with the way it worked and goes 14 of 18 for 121, 0 completions of 20-plus yards. How much of that was the defense Illinois was playing? How much of it was missing Chris Brazzell, Brent, to you? Where do you kind of fall on Tennessee's inability to have explosive pass plays last night?
I don't think it was Brazzell. I mean, no offense to Chris. I mean, maybe Joey would have thrown one up, as a jump ball. Maybe he didn't trust Rodarius Jackson or something in that situation. But, I mean, Illinois was very, very clear in their schematics that they were not going to let you throw it over their head. They just weren't. And had Tennessee gotten in front and Illinois had to gamble more, on defense, then maybe they'd have gotten some one-on-one opportunities like that. But Illinois, 4 sacks. Tennessee struggled to protect up front. Obviously, Joey didn't take care of the ball on the one sack that was a critical fumble that ended up a touchdown. But Illinois just said, we're going to keep the ball in front of us, and we're going to stay in this defense as long as our offense is crossing midfield and taking 5 minutes off the clock every time we touch the ball. It allows us to stay into that and see how patient Tennessee would be. And, there just wasn't opportunities to throw it vertically down the field, regardless of who the receivers were. And, when they got protection, there were some times where they could make it, they could hit some outs. And, a couple of the in-cuts that they threw, they had to dive for them, or, the one to Staley that he didn't haul in, he had to climb the ladder forward, was about to get popped, but he still got to catch that ball. But Joey's got to throw that ball more accurately. Tennessee just didn't play well. They didn't play well really on either side of the ball last night. In stretches, they were okay offensively, but they weren't good enough for 60 minutes.
Brent Hubs of AllQuest, our guest, as he is weekly on Friday, switching to Wednesday with this, our last show of the week. this week. Brent, when you look at this defensive staff and the changes that Jim Knowles can make now moving forward into a pivotal offseason, with the portal opening this weekend, there is obviously a short time frame here to kind of lick your wounds and get ready. Obviously, they're probably already ready for who they want or who they want to talk with. What kind of timeline can we expect? How quickly are things about to move in defensive staff changes and adjustments that Jim Knowles will try to make not only to the staff, but who he wants at the portal and where Tennessee's going to have to go next?
Well, that's what Jim Knowles has spent the last 2 weeks doing. He's evaluated his talent. He's evaluated the coaches at Tennessee currently, and deciding what he wants to do with his staff and then what they want to do in the transfer portal. So I think the staff news will go quickly. I think it will happen in the next couple of days. I think they want to try to have their staff almost completely, if not completely, in place by the time the portal opens, or certainly by the time they get to Saturday, when you might start to see some visitors on campuses there around the country. So I think that part of it will go fast. And then in the portal, I think based on what we saw last night, Tennessee needs help at all three levels on defense. I've said this, and I'll continue to say this. There's going to be a ton of talk about the quarterback position, and rightfully so. Tennessee's got to be better there. They've got a lot of weapons coming back. They're going to have to find their answer at quarterback, whether that's George McIntyre, Faison Brandon. It's a big-name transfer portal guy. It's a guy that comes in and competes, whatever. That's going to be the focal point for a lot of fans, and I totally get that. But if Tennessee wants to get back to where they want to be, and that's the college football playoff, Tennessee's got to be better in the line of scrimmage. Josh Heupel finished the 2025 season with the fewest rushing yards that his offense has gained in the Heupel era at Tennessee, and they've given up more rushing yards than they have in any season that he's been the head coach at Tennessee as well. It is a line of scrimmage league. The head coach says that all the time. Everybody in this league says that all the time. Tennessee's got to be better up front. They got to stop the run better in the front seven. They're going to have to run the football, maybe not to the tune of 3,000 yards, but they're going to have to be more effective running the football as well. So I think the line of scrimmage is where Tennessee has to really improve. And defensively, I think that's going to be getting some work done in the portal, both on the inside and outside on the defensive line and at linebacker.
Brent, it's so interesting the timing of this quarterback stuff, too, when you have a shortened portal and you have just this one window to address so many needs. And you have these kind of hypothetical scenarios, right? Of, well, if Sam Levitt costs X, Y, or Z million, or just take your pick at any of the top of the starter market at quarterback, that's less money for safety or linebacker or lineman, hypothetically, and all these things. The timing of getting an answer, Brent, about quarterback, how quickly is Tennessee going to either have to get a commitment or move on from somebody that maybe still could consider them late just because they got to get answers? How has Josh Heupel got to manage that in your eyes, Brent, and maybe make some tough decisions to say, look, we got to know by halfway point of the portal or beginning of the final 48 hours to know, hey, if we need to take this starting quarterback money and redistribute that elsewhere?
Well, I mean, listen, they're not sitting here going, okay, if we're going to pay top dollar, maximized dollar for a quarterback, and that means we don't really address our defensive side of the ball. That's not where they're at. Right. They've got enough money. They're able to to what depth that they go on defense. That can dictate. But I don't think you're saying.
Got a little bit of a bad connection with Brent here. I don't know if he can hear us right now. Put him on hold, Justin, and see if we can either reconnect with Brent or maybe he's on a speaker or something that's not working. But I want to make sure we get him back on here and traveling and all these things that are difficult during New Year's and after a bowl game. So we'll get him back on in just a minute. But I do think that is the interesting part of it. I think that you're often seen or faced with just, hey, you have this amount of money, you either get this or that, or if it's X here or Y there, right? Like it's not always exactly that simple or black and white as we get Brent back on here and get a good connection. Brent, you got us now?
Well, I'm driving Interstate 40 East, and the man who created the internet doesn't always have the greatest cell phone receptions here as I try to get towards the house and get set up for coaching stuff going on and portal stuff. What I was saying quickly is you don't have to go quarterback first and then decide what you're going elsewhere. They're going to bring defensive guys in this weekend. Obviously, they have to address the quarterback situation, but they've got to address they have multiple needs they have to address and fix. And I don't think you start, we'll deal with all the rest of it after we figure out the quarterback deal. I don't think that's the way you go about this business.
Sure. Brent, I thought it was interesting last night, Josh Heupel talking about creating toughness. And this season, you did not have really nearly as many games as you would have in 2024 where you say, Tennessee was the tougher football team. They out-toughed their opponent in order to win a football game. And him talking about, hey, we've got to facilitate and create mental toughness and get our young players that we like and make them tougher this offseason, Brent. That's a really big, abstract question, and I know there's not one answer to it, but how do you go about creating that in a young football team? Do you have to go find tougher guys in the portal, Brent? I'm fascinated by the way Josh Heupel tries to get Tennessee football's edge back this offseason, something they certainly had in 2024 and did not have to that level in 2025.
Well, I think you have to look at everything. I think you've got to look at your strength and conditioning coaching. I think you've got to look at your strength and conditioning plan. Are you doing the things you need to do in the offseason to create the mental and physical toughness that you're talking about? Are your leaders doing that? Are you practicing the right way every day? Are you physical enough in practice? All of those things are part of what your program evaluation has to be. And I think Josh Heupel understands how critical this offseason is. I know he does. And it's not just about adding personnel. It's about what you do with that personnel, how you develop that personnel at all positions. And that includes what your strength coach is doing in the offseason and what your strength plan is. What are you allowing your strength coach to do? Does he want to do things? And you're like, maybe we don't want to push it there. I mean, you can get too caught up in what the GPS chip says that they wear about how many steps they've run or their heart rate's at. I mean, at some point in time, too, there's some good old-fashioned toughness that has to come into play in terms of your off-season work. And, good teams, when they get kicked in the teeth, and Tennessee's been kicked in the teeth the last 2 games, have to respond the right way. Good programs do, and that's Josh Heupel's challenge.
Brent, when you kind of look back on the Joey Aguilar season for Tennessee football, certainly not one that we would have planned or discussed this time last year by any stretch of the imagination, coming off a playoff loss to Ohio State. How will you remember the short but albeit impactful legacy of Joey Aguilar on Tennessee football and the hoops that had to be jumped through, the process of getting him ready to play, and the way he ultimately led this football team in 2025?
Well, I think it would be viewed by many as enjoyable. I mean, he's fun to watch play. Didn't play as well as he needed to in some games, in some halves. Fell out of rhythm too much. You go back to that Georgia game. It was a great first quarter, very subpar second quarter. There were moments and times where he would be on a heater, and then you would, like last night, he started 4 for 4, and I think he went 2 for his next 8. So there was some moments where he fell out of rhythm. But I think from where Tennessee was to and what they ended up with, was pretty remarkable. Mm-hmm. And he enjoyed his time at Tennessee. He was a great representative. He appreciated everything about being a Tennessee quarterback. And for Tennessee fans who were scorned by the guy who left them, at the end of spring practice, to get someone in who was personable, who dealt with the media well. He hung out with kids and he signed autographs and he stayed around and he smiled and he was visible and all those things. It was enjoyable. It's not the results that you wanted, and he didn't play his best down the stretch of the season, but for what it could have been and what you got out of it, he was certainly fun to watch play football.
Brent Hubs of VolQuest set on 3, our guest. Brent, just on the way out, one basketball question for you as well, and we won't dive into the intricacies of Tennessee, South Carolina State, which is not much of a game in the second half last night, to say the least. What are you watching for as Tennessee takes the floor this weekend against Arkansas? What do you think the next step is for Tennessee basketball and Rick Barnes during a busy time, obviously, in football coverage as SEC play begins? Another team chases a championship now moving forward into a new season.
Well, I think it's about their consistency on offense. Is Jalen Carey going to continue to do what he's doing? What does Nate Ament do? How does he grow against physical play? Because he's getting ready to get into the throes of the physicality now. He thinks he's played physical basketball. It's coming every night. There are no layups from here on out. So how is he physically? Gillespie's continued growth and this team's consistency on the defensive end, night in and night out, playing with the edge that Rick Barnes is looking for. That's the journey that starts at Arkansas. They're not going to win all of them. Nobody does. But the question is, can they become more consistent as a basketball team, particularly on the defensive end, night in and night out? And then how does Nate Ament grow offensively with this team? Because if they want to get where they want to at the end of the year, he's going to have to be a bigger part of the puzzle, so to speak, when they're playing against better competition, which they're going to play night in and night out now.
All right, well, Brent, we at times have had Grant R. in Blount County who has chimed in. We have Austin P. in Knoxville this time, Brent, who says, I never drop out like that. Make sure you tell Hubs that. See, I don't even want to say things like this, Brent, because you're making time for us on a New Year's Eve. You're traveling. We appreciate you. Austin P. in Knoxville wanted me to pass that along.
Let me say this, Will. If Austin P. would have gotten out of bed earlier, we would be past this zone where there would be the possibility of dropping out, and he would have already had his Chick-fil-A biscuit this morning and would be rolling right along. So Austin P. is the reason we dropped out.
I love it. Austin and Brent, we appreciate you both. Brent, Happy New Year to you. As we talked about last week, man, we're so thankful to be affiliated with you guys and the best Tennessee coverage that ramps up even more. You guys work harder than anybody in the world of college athletics with the way this thing goes and coaches, and you guys have a lot in common. And talking to prospects and navigating the next couple weeks, thank you for making time for us. Appreciate you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We'll talk to you next Friday.
All right. Sounds good. There's Brent Hubs of AllQuest and On3 with us here this morning, presented by our friends at Ascend Federal Credit Union, your financial partner at every stage of life. Love that. We just, all the VolQuest guys, I guess, just like tune in. It's like just get around the radio, around the tablet. I guess Austin's in the car. It's the reason why he's tuned in. But anyway.
I like that picture. Just everybody's tuned in around the radio, just sitting hand in hand, singing Kumbaya by the fire with the 104.5 The Zone tuned in.
I love it. All right, coming up, there was a quote that I heard last night after Tennessee, Illinois. A dying art, something you don't hear very often anymore in college athletics, was said last night after this Music City Bowl. We'll talk about it next. Wrapping up hour 3 on Ramon and Will. 104.5 The Zone and Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. A full quarterfinal college football playoff preview coming up with Stephen Godfrey, who was on the record going into the season as well that this did not need to be a referendum season on Josh Heupel in Tennessee, even if it was 8-4. Well, it was, and then it became 8-5 last night. We'll see where Godfrey's head's at as the level-headed one, talking about Tennessee football, usually in this room when he is in here, when Ramon's here, when I'm here. Lord knows I'm a lot of things, and probably level-headed is not one of them enough times. I did want to play this from Jalen McMurray, Tennessee defensive back, last night. You're not going to hear as many quotes like this. The bowl system, the bowl season is as, I don't know if irrelevant's the right word, but yeah, probably irrelevant, as it's been a long time in college sports. It's kind of one of those where, again, in a bowl game, you win the game, you get to go to a beach city or a cool city. Obviously, Tennessee is just in a lot of people's hometowns for this game. You win it, like, oh, okay, cool. Good step into the offseason, disappointing year, fine year, whatever, could have been worse. But if you lose it, you care more about the emotions and you have stronger feelings when you lose a bowl game than when you win one. 100%. Speaking from experience on someone who has, obviously, as you know, cheered for and followed a team that's won a lot of meaningless bowl games over Big Ten teams. Last night was not one of those nights. Jalen McMurray, Tennessee defensive back, is a senior who will be at the Senior Bowl in a month and hopefully has an NFL future ahead of him. Talked last night post-game about being doubtful for this game, being injured, probably not needing to play, but wanting to play in a bowl game, despite being someone that has, at least in the immediate future, an NFL future at the Senior Bowl. This was Jalen McMurray post-game yesterday.
Yeah, it was an emotional roller coaster, There were times where I felt good. There were times where I didn't. Like he said, I was doubtful yesterday. I didn't think I'd be able to play, but this place has given me so much, and I want to be able to finish it out. I don't want for my teammates, even though I know they probably wouldn't think this, but I didn't want them thinking I quit on them, and it was important to me to leave it out, everything on the field, give it all for the power team, give it all for my teammates, coaches, them for giving me so much, the opportunity to come out here and play with them, and yeah, no, it's just give God the glory for allowing me to, step on that field and play how I did, and thank God for having me feel good right now too, so I mean, yeah.
Jalen McMurray, Tennessee senior defensive back yesterday. I respect that so much. Right? Like, it doesn't have to be everyone's decision. With as much money as you have at stake in the NFL, I'm not as, bothered by opt-outs as probably I used to be. I think it makes sense. I think guys like Colton Hood and Chris Brassel have NFL futures. Exhibition game is kind of what it feels like. Obviously still counts towards the record, but you've got bigger fish to fry. I still respect guys, though, that make that decision. I say, no, I want to play the bowl game. The way Diego Pavia is today for Vanderbilt against Iowa, the way Joey Aguilar did at quarterback in that game against Illinois yesterday. And I hate the ending that Joey had. I hate the ending for a guy like Jalen McMurray as well, but I respect that so much. Doesn't have to be everyone's decision. I get it. It was Jalen McMurray's decision, and that is a dying art in college football that I respect a lot when I hear it.
Yeah, for me, it comes to a lot of like these players who don't know what their future in the NFL holds. And if they're not transferring, so like you're a senior or you're done with college, this is your last-ditch effort or your catapulting effort into the draft process, going into Indianapolis and with the combine and what kind of tape you can display, whether it be the Senior Bowl. Like, this is the last actual game that you're going to play. For me, that's why I have an issue with these opt-outs and stuff like that, is unless you're a bona fide first-round draft pick, I think you should be playing. because all you can do is improve your draft stock, but of course you can also hurt it.
Well,
and that's
you
why
can
they
hurt
don't,
yourself.
That's
too.
why they don't want to play.
Yeah, you can hurt yourself and get injured, and then there goes all of a sudden your second round grade goes to a 6th round.
Right. It's tough. It's a really tough decision. But I do respect both sides of the ball here because you have to do what is best for yourself, and I can't ever fault anybody for ever doing what's best for themselves.
College football has just never been so transactional. And in an era where players are taking, coaches like Lane Kiffin and his staff are trying to take players that are about to play a playoff game tomorrow in the Sugar Bowl. Like there's no one that's totally faultless in this sport for where we are at this point. But through lack of leadership, through lack of guardrails, through lack of just wanting to play football sometimes, which is the foundation of obviously what these guys do get paid to do. I respect guys like Jalen McMurray so much for taking the full opportunity to do right by their teammates, do right by themselves and their universities and their fan bases and represent the team as much as they can. I thought this was interesting with Josh Heupel. We played this in the first hour. You heard me reference it with Brent Hubs a few minutes ago about Tennessee's ability to develop toughness, for them to buy more into young players that maybe in a perfect world wouldn't have played this season. A guy like Ty Redmond, who was kind of forced into the mix. There were a lot of those this year that kind of had to play quickly and grow up fast, and that was the theme from Josh Heupel at the spring game. Nobody has time to be young. Well, those guys will be a year older next season, and Josh Heupel clearly has a lot of belief in some of the young players in his locker room.
Well, we got to get better, absolutely. But there's a lot of really good young talent inside of that locker room. One of, if not the youngest teams in our league. There's an influx of guys that we just signed that are highly talented. Yes, we have to go into the portal and get some guys too. The talent is one thing. The development of it is the second part of it. But there's a connection and work mentality and mental toughness and every trait that it takes to go win that's got to be developed as well. And I feel really good about what we have coming back, what we have coming in, and then we got to go get some guys here in the portal, and then we got to build a football team, which is what you have to do every year when you get back in January.
So here's the thing about college football in today's era, in my opinion. I don't think being young is an excuse for what Tennessee football was in 2025. You have more of a choice to be old, if you want to be, than ever before. Vanderbilt made that choice in the transfer portal this past offseason. No, we want graduates. We want guys that are grown men who have played football at the G5 level, at the lower Power 4 level. We want guys who have been around the block. It's the same decision Tennessee made at quarterback. Hey, look, we want to be old at quarterback, right? We're going to see what the long-term program health of Tennessee looks like, because Tennessee might be better off in 2026. I say might be. They got to play games for us to really determine this. They might be better off in 2026 because they played some young guys and said, you know what? We're going to let the kids play. We're going to throw Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley out there. We don't need to go get another big money wide receiver in the transfer portal. We're ready for Jesse Perry to play offensive line. We don't need to overpay for an interior offensive lineman. We don't need to go get a Jacoby Thomas replacement at safety. We feel good about what we've got there. Some of those decisions you're forced into, some of those positions you would have liked to have. Josh Thompson was a guy who went to LSU out of Northwestern, was a Tennessee lean at one point. Would they have liked to have him instead of Jesse Perry? Probably. Maybe Jesse Perry could have played another position. It's not black and white to say, they just decided we're not going to recruit older guys. We're only going to play kids. They had some older guys they recruited. They just couldn't get them. That's part of it. But as a rule, Tennessee football in 2025 played the kids. TM, trademark, quote unquote. They may be better off for that in 2026. They may not be. It might just be that they're like Clemson, who had a lot of returners from last year's team. And it turns out a lot of those guys were kind of the same players in 2025 as they were in 2024. Good, not great. And maybe not even good, because Clemson was not a good football team this year. We're going to get an answer on that. We're going to get an answer on a lot of the health of Tennessee football and how much Josh Heupel is willing to adapt and change, because he adapted to playing more young players this season. He went 8-5. He got quarterback right. And it was an underachieving season for the first time under Josh Heupel in his 5 seasons. I like what Brent Hubs said a few minutes ago. Josh Heupel knows the offseason he's going into. And I'm fascinated to see how different that defense looks, what they do at quarterback. Do you go get a guy like Hollywood Smothers at the top of the running back transfer portal market? How do you rebuild this offensive line? The staff changes on defense. There is so much we don't know and so much we are about to learn about Tennessee football under Josh Heupel over the next few months.
Yep, he's recruited well, but if you're going to go into the portal and you're going to recruit well, you got to hit. It's free agency in college football. You got to hit.
No doubt about it. Final hour of the show, final hour of the year. There's my hour 3 cliche of New Year's hosting
I
a
missed
radio
it
show.
earlier.
Stephen Godfrey joins us in studio for the final hour talking Tennessee football, college football playoff, and who in the world knows what else coming up next.
9:02, good morning on this New Year's Eve live from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. A disappointing end of the season yesterday as the Tennessee Vols fall to Illinois 30-28 in the Music City Bowl and ending their 2025 season at 8-5 as they now look to the offseason. The Vols were outgained 417 to 278 total yards of offense. Joey Aguilar threw for just 121 yards passing, which marks his lowest output of the season. He was also sacked 4 times, one of which was a sack fumble recovered for an Illinois touchdown. In NFL news, the Cowboys released cornerback Trayvon Diggs yesterday. Should they clear waivers, he would be a free agent and available for pickup just in time for a team making their playoff push. Diggs was Dallas' second-round draft pick back in 2020. Also, per NFL insider Ian Rappaport this morning, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson is expected to return to practice today. After missing last week with a back injury, the Ravens will play the Steelers Sunday night in Pittsburgh for the AFC North title and the final spot in the AFC playoff picture. Coming up today at 11 a.m. on ESPN, Diego Pavia, the Vanderbilt Commodores take on Iowa in the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa Bay. Vanderbilt is without star tight end Eli Stowers, but they are a 4.5-point favorite. For all your foundation repair waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour of the show, final hour of the week and of 2025 on Ramon and Will. Glad you are with us. Hope it is a good start to your New Year's Eve and you've got plans for football, maybe Stranger Things tonight. I'm going to have a tablet with Ohio State, Miami on. Stranger Things is on the TV at 7 o'clock. Stephen Godfrey's here in studio. College Football Inquirer, Yahoo Sports, everywhere, PhantomIsland.show. What's up? Good morning.
I'm living incredibly dangerously.
Yeah.
Because the wife and I we're one episode in.
Okay.
That's it.
Of the whole show? Or
No,
okay.
Of the last season.
I was say, you got a long way to go.
Because of all the jobs that you just listed,
yes,
and our travel and the fact that like we have 3 kids and we try and watch that show together.
Yep.
We have one episode. I know tonight is the end, right?
Yes. Finale.
I am going to be ninja dodging spoilers for the next probably 3 or 4 days because that's how long it's going to take us for it to be like, all right, kids are all doing something, we're fine. By the way, college football playoff, which is what I'm here to talk about. I am so terrified I'm going to get spoiled on this thing.
I am too.
Dude, we've been watching this show forever, like 10, 11 years.
It is everyone has core memories of what they watched in college, and this is mine for me, of fraternity house, everyone around Halloween gets in a room and the new Stranger Things just
in our family. My wife has never seen anything horror, anything thriller ever, and we randomly watched it when we were pregnant with this one of our kids, our first kid, and every time it's just stuck with us. And I'm like, oh man, I've got all this playoff stuff. I'm doing radio hits, and I'm like, I just have to somehow be on social media. And I don't know if I'm going to mute it or block it or something. I'm terrified, dude.
Yeah, no.
Mortified.
If you have searched the words Stranger Things or even read lingered on a tweet in the last week, then it's for you page. There it is. This is when
you and I don't get sympathy for the jobs we have. Most people want to do our jobs.
That's correct.
I have a list of pop culture related things since about Labor Day that I am dying to get into when the college football season ends.
Right.
That show Pluribus on Apple. Been dodging spoilers for that.
Very good.
We have to be on social for our jobs. I'm just waiting for someone to ruin it anytime I log on.
Yep.
So
100%. Godfrey in studio to talk college football playoff. We will get to all of that, and there are 4 games to break down. And this was around where upsets happened last year. The reseeding, the changing of the system probably means that's not going to be the case this week, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. But I want to start on Tennessee. And we're not going to do Music City Bowl recap radio. We've spent a lot of time on that this morning. And I think a lot of fans today, Godfrey, myself included, care less about what happened last night and more about the fact that last night was a perfect microcosm of Tennessee football in 2025.
I think that's a great assessment.
Kind of wasted a good quarterback in a season where you would have been given a pass for not being great at quarterback.
Yeah, so let's now we have all the data points for the season. Because I heard you tee this up in the previous segment talking about how I've been a steady hand.
Yes.
I said 8-4,
Thank
right?
you for that, by the way. You did?
Okay.
I did too.
Throw the bowl game out, obviously.
Right.
the way it ended was a little too apropos. But at the same time, decisions have already been made on the defensive side of the football. I kind of knew when that Illinois matchup got announced that this was going to end up being more of a headache for Tennessee. Like, ask South Carolina.
Yeah, I just think of like Brett Bielema like walking towards Shane Beamer, just like beaming and getting under his skin so much last year, and just him kind of doing that again yesterday.
I'm not going to get into the who wanted it more, who cared, who was more prepared thing.
Right.
It's an exhibition game that does not matter. Like, I can guarantee you this. If you're mad about this morning, you should be. You're a fan. Like, we were talking about a fandom and just enjoying one win when we were during the break. I'm not trying to take that away. I get it. I am a fan of sports teams.
Yep.
However, I need y'all to know, if you're listening to this, I would bet you that Tennessee's coaching staff, and Illinois' for that matter, spent the majority of the week leading up to this game prepping for the portal.
True.
Or tampering might be a verb, but prepping for the portal.
Whatever prepping may look like.
Because that's the priority.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
That's the priority. And I know the way it ended sucked. I get it. That's totally fine. But this was not the priority for Tennessee football. It's not the most important thing moving forward. It sucks it happened in Nashville.
Right.
I get all that. I totally understand the frustration of the season, but you've already made you've made a significant change on defense. And I think that alone, had that significant change been implemented last night, I think there would have been a different result.
Yep.
I like the last segment. That kid was McMurray.
Yeah, Jalen McMurray,
that
former
kid,
Temple defensive back.
Yes, and this is what I wanted to bring up. That kid's great evidence of why the portal can be such a positive.
Yeah, 100%.
That kid is laying out, as we say, or dying to play in the otherwise obsolete and pointless exhibition game that is the Music City Bowl, right? Out in the cold against Illinois. Doesn't matter, doesn't mean anything. Because that kid started his career at Temple. And if my math's right, he started his career at some like really bad Temple teams.
Very bad. Yes.
Well, there's only been one decent one, and it was this season under Casey Keeler. So the idea of him treating the Music City Bowl, and this is kind of what I took from his comments, as the end of an arc, and the end of a journey for him, it was significant. It did matter. He's talking about running the power tee and all that stuff. That's awesome. Right. That's what you want. And so to be able to provide the aspirational reach for a kid like that is such a positive. Now we can go back to talking about how it's, the portal's running college football.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's interesting for Tennessee too, and you look at, we just talked about it, like a lot of the changes we've talked about all season of the identity shift in play the kids, play the younger guys. Some of that's forced because you couldn't get some guys you wanted in the portal. Some of it is just, hey, we lost so many guys in the transfer portal because we didn't put them in, and we kept just adding veterans and backfilling veterans, portal, that, hey, why don't we just trust our evaluations of some of our high school recruits? Mm-hmm. The way that sits now for Tennessee at the quarterback position is fascinating because you have local product in George McIntyre, who is talented, who has run the Heupel system at a high level in high school, at the highest level of high school football in Tennessee, in D2 AAA, who is good, that they trust, that they like, that you hear really good things about. But then you have the fact that James Franklin just got let go 1 year after being in the semifinals, and this pressure that is baked into every single year for head coaches in this sport. And I know James Franklin is probably the outlier and not the norm, but I'm thinking about a world, Godfrey, that we could live in where if Curt Cignetti wins a national championship at Indiana, athletic directors and university presidents and chancellors are going to be looking around saying, you can just go get a guy like that, and 2 years later... We're doing that's not rational. That's not reasonable.
Me. Yeah, it scares me.
But like
that's
the impact
lesson.
of that and the impact of Texas Tech, to me, two different factors in proof of concept. Oh, this older coach is sitting here, really high floor, give him resources. He's going to change the culture. Like, I don't know if Kyle Whittingham's the coach at Michigan today, if Curt Cignetti doesn't do what he does at Indiana. I know Andy Staples wrote that at On 3. Long-winded way to say, does Tennessee need to spend $5 million on a transfer portal quarterback? Probably not. I'm curious to see, though, what the pressure of the way this season went and the state of this sport does to Josh Heupel's decisions on how to elevate Tennessee football again in 2026.
I would challenge, this is going to be a bold take on the radio. I would challenge Josh Heupel in Tennessee to take all of that under consideration and then filter most of it out.
Yeah.
Let's table the Indiana talk until maybe 2 weeks from now. All right.
Very fair.
I can tell you as someone who works in the industry that Joey McGuire was on the hot seat 5 weeks ago, okay? There was serious talk that Texas Tech would throw a bank, and he would probably take it at Lincoln Riley. I don't know if I've said that on the radio before, but
wow.
The reason that didn't happen was because Texas Tech did what it was designed to do this season by its payroll and by its function, and it won I don't want to say lackluster Big 12, but a Big 12 that's not what Tennessee sees.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
We broke down the entire schedule for Texas Tech on the Yahoo show yesterday because we're just doing game previews. And that Oregon game is so fascinating to me because there's just no form or function, anything that replicates Oregon that this Texas Tech team has seen. And I said this and we used it on social media stuff like defense travels more than anything else. But they have no offense. That's the worst quarterback. That's probably the worst passing offense that's alive as I go through in my head. That's probably the worst passing offense that's left in the tournament.
A lot of the quarterback metrics were Alonzo Barnett, Baron Morton, everyone else that were in the playoff this year.
So the reason I bring this up is Tennessee still needs to be able to sell to its fan base and talk to the media about investing in high school recruiting for high-end quarterback talent and developing them at a reasonable pace.
Yeah.
What were we talking about when I was in here in August? We're talking about Arch Manning, and is he overhyped? Well, was he? We don't know. Or is this just another year in a stage of development? And I think what scares me the most is that we've eliminated the idea of any kind of gradual improvement in college football.
And bridge seasons, quote unquote. Why can't every season be a let's go for it and win the whole thing?
So when Whittingham got hired last week, I characterized it as a bridge coach and people lost their minds. I also said that about Brent Key. So, that's like some bridge coaches turn out to be like just a bridge up, a staircase coach.
Rick Barnes, Tennessee basketball is a bridge coach, and they're perennial at the top of the SEC.
So it scares me to death that when you look, if you pull the name Tennessee off of it, and it's a blind, sort of like, blind item resumes in March for basketball, like a blind item program assessment. If I went through and audited where Tennessee football was, I wouldn't really be able to point to anything that created potential systemic flaw. They've made the change on defense, totally understandable. They need to be better on defense, totally understandable. I'm going to say this for the 900th time. They went through a significant personnel issue at the quarterback position and still fared pretty well for it. They're a drive away, a Gunnar Stockton miracle pass, the best I've seen all season from him. And I was at the Texas-Georgia game that could have changed the entire trajectory of the season. Maybe not for the Vols, but it would have certainly affected the SEC, and it would have kept the Vols in a playoff conversation well through, maybe not Thanksgiving, but like November.
Yeah.
And we would be talking about Tennessee differently.
No doubt.
So I advise caution. That being said, you're going into a season where you said, all right, well, we weathered this little 8-5 storm. Are we going to maintain our patience for quarterback development? There's a lot of books on that. There's a lot of different philosophies you could do here.
Yep.
But balancing quarterback, like rotational quarterback play and aspiring to be a contender in the SEC, the pretty short stack of programs and years where that's worked effectively.
For sure.
So that's what scares me if I'm Tennessee.
Real quickly, before we get to the other games and get to our break and talk about the quarterfinals, Jim Knowles, I read a lot about it's a complex system. It will take time to mesh, to fit. Obviously, it worked at Ohio State. It's worked everywhere. I mean, Penn State this year, a little bit of an outlier. But again, as far as defensively, like, defense wasn't really the issue there for Penn State this year. Like, how will he change the DNA of Tennessee on defense? And what is the Jim Knowles experience going to be like for Vols fans?
I mean, let's talk about what complicated means for a second.
Sure.
Because this gets boiled down for public consumption, and then it just gets dumber on every step of the filtering process.
Right.
You know, as a really simple defensive structure, Todd Grantham. Do you want Todd Grantham? Do you want third and Grantham right now?
I don't think so.
I'm asking every Vol fan right now, they're like, well, it might be too complicated for next year. Like,
he just got hired somewhere yesterday.
UAB.
Yeah, UAB. That's right. Mortensen. Yeah, that's right. For sure.
Yeah, the dead end of the FBS. Okay. So do you want a simplified defensive structure?
I do not.
Okay. So let's give Jim Knowles the benefit of the doubt here, folks. and this is where I just play Tennessee therapist every time I come in here.
Thank you.
Look at the Oklahoma State part of his resume.
Okay.
I don't know how to say this in a sensitive way. This is where Ramon would be cracking up if he was in here. Those are a bunch of sawed-off 2-star white boys, okay, on that. A bunch of brush-popping rednecks from the Panhandle.
In an era where no one was playing defense in the Big 12.
Couldn't.
Jim Knowles was playing defense in the Big 12. Yeah, that's
I don't want to yell into the mic. Good Seinfeld.
I do it all the time. It's okay.
Go back and look at the last season he was at Okie State. By the way, last time Okie State was relevant.
100%.
You want to go back in hindsight and evaluation, we were completely misevaluating. They're like, oh, Gundy's found a second streak or a renaissance. No, that was Knowles. The point I'm getting at, I'll do it quicker, is that was a fairly simplified approach when they got there. Sure. It was fundamentally sound, and it gained complexity as we went. You can do that in Knoxville. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about complexity. It's his job to fit to where Tennessee's at, and he's a professional.
I like it. All right, we'll talk college football playoff quarterfinals when we come back. The heartbreak that there is maybe not going to be a sunset in the Rose Bowl. This is how I get Godfrey going as we talk about Indiana, Alabama, Miami, Ohio State, all those games coming up next. Ramona Will on 104.5 The Zone. Hour 4 continues tonight in the land of this man. Big X the Plug, Texas, Cotton Bowl, Miami versus Ohio State.
Music's been great today, by the way.
Yeah, good. Justin is very good music.
Loving
these things. Very, very good.
You guys had a lead in on a segment this morning when I was driving in. I was like, oh, all right.
It's New Year's themed. It's like, you're up.
New Year's themed?
That's right. I don't know. That's what you said, right?
Well, earlier it was. Now I'm just trying to find a good beat.
I like it.
Our last bump of the day will be themed.
Okay. Well, Miami, Ohio State's a really interesting game, Godfrey. And I think that Miami's front seven and their ability to neutralize some of their skill deficiencies at the skill positions is really interesting. I think Miami could have the better line of scrimmage play on both sides of the ball. Is that too off base?
Okay.
The other question is, does that matter? Because Carson Beck's the quarterback and Julian Sainz the other
We've done this in circles, not like you and I specifically, but in the media. I think we might have recency bias from the A&M game.
Okay.
Because the way that you start to characterize this matchup is like talent, right? Exceptional talent. When you get to this round, you have nothing but talent. It's like that old, I think it's not Goodfellas, it's some gangster movie. It's like, well, everybody's got guns. Everybody's got shooters, right?
Sure.
Like, that's the kind of maxim that we have. Because to see how Malachi changed that game against A&M, and I'm not saying A&M's not talented, but you have exceptional talent, right? Potential, like we'll be talking about this kid after his 15-year NFL career kind of moment. Now in this round, Ohio State embodies that. That's kind of that's the best way to describe their blueprint, is to go out and get the most exceptional future NFL talent and build everything else from there down. And every program in the world would do that if they could, but there's only about 6 or 7 that can, and Ohio State does it the most consistently.
Right.
But it's a really talented Miami team.
It is really good.
It's a really good one. The Beck thing's fascinating to me because when is the last time Carson Beck has had to win a football game? He's lost a few. He lost that Louisville game.
Certainly.
Okay.
I'll tell you the game that comes to mind for me.
All right. Yeah, no, we did. So we did this on the Yahoo Show. I'm curious what you say first.
The performance he had against Tennessee last year in Athens.
Okay.
With Tennessee going down there and Tennessee getting a lead up 10-0. And for whatever reason, Mike Bobo and Carson Beck played their best football when Tim Banks' defense was on the other side.
What's interesting to me is the things that I remember are she gets hurt at the SEC championship game.
Yep.
Plays well against Georgia Tech in that crazy ending.
For sure.
Is really unable to solve the Pete Golding defense in Oxford. And in general, this is what I'm getting at, that last third of last season doesn't equate to the $4 million portal move.
For sure.
And when you look at Miami's season to this point, I'm sorry, he loses the Louisville game because of the turnovers and where he puts them in drives in the second half.
No question.
And that affects so much. Like, if you're mad 2 G5 teams made the playoff, you don't actually blame. It's not like James Madison stormed the gates. That was the ACC because they didn't have their tiebreakers correct, because Miami was their best team, but Miami kept losing conference games. And it starts in that Louisville game. We are asking Carson to do a lot in this game. I think he has to.
Right.
It's not going to be like A&M because Ohio State, we're trying to comp the season on the other side. And a lot of people, like Andy Staples, my co-host on Yahoo, was talking about, well, maybe this shapes up like the Texas game. But that was a publicly acknowledged conservative offensive package for Ohio State, saying, we're breaking the kid in, first game, that was the situation for both starters in that game. That's why it was so significant. And both teams had really quality defenses. Ohio State's not going to do that tonight.
For sure.
They've had an entire season of development, and I'll be honest, that kid has come along really well. Now, they've slow played him because of the schedule, right? But if you go back and look at some of the stuff he did situationally, like before the Michigan game, Washington comes to mind. I'm trying to think of another game that I can remember where I think he might be the better quarterback. This is what I'm getting at. He certainly has the higher potential than Carson Beck.
No doubt.
But how much in SEC country do we trust Carson Beck? And that's where I think, because we could talk about outstanding talent like Baby Jesus or Smith or whatever. Like, we got him in spots, right? Still the great best nickname going in college football.
Yeah.
They've got it everywhere. Both teams do. So you have the playmaker potential, which is really, again, how that A&M game ends, is finally they find space for one playmaker to essentially break the tie, the stymie that was going on.
Sure.
That could happen either way because of the talent on both sides. I think it's going to be consistent. It's the opposite of flash. It's two flashy teams, and they both have to be uber consistent against each other.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in a dome. I think they're going to score more points than we think. And I think Ohio State is a much more creative offense and has more potential than, like, I loved Marcel Reed, and I like that Colin Klein offense for A&M, but it really did get flat.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So it's a hard game to pick. This might be the hardest to pick.
I agree. I feel like it is where there is the most upset potential in the first round. And maybe not in terms of a win or loss. I'm maybe thinking more from a Vegas perspective on just the underdog I like to cover the most, because I think 9.5 points is a ton of points in this game. I think the problem for Miami is the break glass in case of emergency, just give it to Mark Fletcher Jr. that they had against A&M. I don't think you're going to be able to do that against Ohio State.
And that's what I'm talking about.
That's the point.
Yeah, like you can't just pencil in playmaker makes play.
Right. And it's not an explosive offense either, like Miami. And that was the thing that was so interesting about the A&M matchup was A&M was so feast or famine all season defensively. Like they'd get you in 3rd and 12, but they'd also give up a 50-yard gain over their heads consistently. Well, Miami wasn't explosive.
Yeah.
And they constantly lived in 3rd and medium and way too long, and they just found their explosives in the run game. I don't see that against Ohio State.
Elko is very good about risk reward, and it paid dividends for them mostly. I think they were a little banged up down the stretch, and then eventually it was that South Carolina game where you saw like, they're fatally flawed. 100%. I keep talking about A&M, but imagine Cam Ward on this team. This is the de facto national champions going into this tournament.
Yes.
I know a lot of SEC people may have not watched Miami this season, but if Cam Ward is the quarterback and this is the roster, this particular iteration with the fixes they've made on defense, oh my gosh. We're like, it's not, to be honest, I don't know if it's close.
No, I mean, in SEC terms, we're talking about the way LSU's defense wasted Jaden Daniels in a Heisman season.
Oh, without a doubt.
Miami did the exact same thing just 1 year later with Cam Ward.
Yeah, and it was just honestly, it was the wrong defensive system. Yeah. The playmakers weren't there, and I would say both these lines are better too for Miami. Mm-hmm. So hardest game to preview for sure. I would say tomorrow's slate. I feel like I have a beat on everything, sure. At least compared to this one.
Well, let's start with Orange Bowl then. Oregon, Texas Tech. That is crazy travel, by the way, for Oregon. I know that college football doesn't care about these things, and they don't care about fans, and the fact that ticket prices are there's a lot of empty seats because fans have to now afford to go to 3 games that normally they would have just gone to 1. Whatever. Just another day in college football.
If you believe in Oregon, as most of their fans do, like you're going to be back in 2 weeks, maybe.
I know.
It's so dumb.
I know.
Don't get me. I'll ruin the rest of the hour talking about it. But
Oregon, Texas Tech is interesting. Oregon profiling as the team they could be fully healthy and haven't been all season.
Correct.
Is still so interesting because I feel like they can beat anybody and they could win the whole thing if they are the best versions of themselves. And this is where I go back to what we talked about this time last year when we previewed Tennessee, Ohio State. We've got to bake in like the 2021 Atlanta Braves World Series run now for college football teams. And the fact that you can reinvent yourself in the postseason because you have more time to reinvent yourself in the postseason, which also means you have more time to get healthy in the postseason.
If we're using that comp, and
who's Eddie Rosario for the Oregon Ducks?
Oh, sweet Eddie.
10 people out there love that.
Yes, no, I have a Braves hat on if you're just driving right now. Well, no, if we're using that comp, it's like who felt so surprising in November too,
right?
Because we were bad that year. Will
we were
very bad.
That was the 1 year we weren't supposed to win.
That's right. That's right. Maybe that'll happen next year.
Yeah,
it's not Oregon because they've been consistent, but a healthier Oregon is terrifying. And again, to go back where I was talking about in the last segment, like I'm not trying to just I'm trying to use a nice word. I'm not trying to be mean to the Big 12 inventory, the quality of like those matchups. Tech's schedule was lacking, for sure. And when they got on the ropes, it was through physicality. So I'm gonna do this in like a simplified way because this is the way that coaches would say it to me. Their front seven is Excelsior. They're the best, right? Like that's what they've built their identity off of. We went out in free agency and we were a portal or whatever, and we built a pass rush that is just the hounds of hell. Check, totally correct. And yes, defense travels. Like whatever situation you're in, pass rush can change games, win games, maintain games. But I don't trust their quarterback. And we saw Arizona State and we saw at times Utah and BYU, although they were just more talented than BYU ultimately.
For sure.
But the Utah game and the Arizona State loss, to me, are a decent enough recipe. Guess what? Kenny Dillingham came from Oregon staff. Philosophically, schematically, there's a ton of stuff in common with Oregon and Arizona State.
I thought about that.
And Oregon is a much more talented Arizona State. If you are listening to this as an SEC fan in Nashville, I need you to understand that if in your mind's eye you're thinking about Oregon from 2014 or Mariota or the Blur under Chip Kelly, this is not that football team. They have legit O-linemen, legit D-linemen, and they are at their best under Dan Lanning and most effective when they are running the ball consistently and creatively. They, I think, will do this, and I think they will beat Texas Tech.
Okay. I think that the SEC fan that just sees, and I'll put myself in this boat sometimes too when things get busy with Titans and NFL stuff over the weekend, but like it feels like some of these non-SEC teams play like 2-game seasons. And I think for a lot of people that will have watched Oregon maybe play twice this season with Brad and Gary on the call on CBS, they are built like an SEC team. And in a lot of ways, Texas Tech defensively is built like an SEC team.
Yeah.
More than a lot of traditional SEC teams that are a little lighter up front in their front seven.
Yeah.
Because Texas Tech and Oregon have taken a lot of those players that would have maybe sat at Alabama for 2 years and waited their turn. Like, you don't have to wait your turn anymore. You just go to Oregon or you go to Texas Tech. Or,
I think that's a really good point, Will.
You go play for Deanton Lynn now.
Yes.
Penn State versus USC.
Oh, man. I can come in on another day and we can talk about assistant hires.
Yeah.
That thing's going to have some seismic impact because USC had kind of pinned their future of their personnel. Ooh, man, Lincoln's not having a good day.
No, he is not. Big deal.
That's a big deal. Yeah. We can talk about that later. No, I think, yes, the SEC defensive philosophy, it wasn't like it was so novel or innovative what they were doing, let's say 2012 or whatever, around that time. It was that you couldn't get the personnel to replicate it. And now we flattened everything out at the top with the portal. So you will see similar, like Oregon's defense is probably the least talked about unit in this matchup because Tech's NIL thing has taken all the oxygen. They're a very effective defense. Okay. They enjoy a low-scoring kind of grinder game. The game you should watch if you're just pulling up DVR. By the way, anyone who has YouTube TV or Tubi or whatever, put college football. Don't put the game in, and you have an entire library in the offseason to watch.
Really?
I do that. Yeah, just add college football as a recording, and then every single game that airs on broadcast, you'll have for like 2 years.
Wow.
So if you want to pull up something and like go back to that Iowa game. They like to play physically. This is not the old Oregon. So, I like Oregon here. I want to know more about that offense, and tonight or tomorrow will be a really good, a good case study for that. I just don't know how much further they go.
Fair enough. Okay. We got 2 more games to talk about when we come back as we wrap up the show. We wrap up the year. All right, there's my cliche of radio on New Year's Eve for the last day of the year, last show of the week. That's what are you 615-736? I don't know. Maybe somebody on the station might do that later. I probably shouldn't say that. Alabama, Indiana, Ole Miss, Georgia. We'll talk about the 2 SEC matchups in the playoff quarterfinals next. Final segment of the show as we wrap up the week in the year 2025. Grateful you're with us and grateful for Stephen Godfrey making it a part of his busy schedule to talk some college football and hang out here for the last hour. Appreciate you as always.
Happy to be here.
Alabama, Indiana in a rainy Rose Bowl.
No, just kidding. Take that, Midwest.
That's right. Can Alabama pull this off? They're healthiest they've been since they beat Georgia.
O-line, Simpson. O-line, Simpson. This is the easiest one to preview.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I agree.
This game has more stakes on it than I want it to have. Because Alabama does not lack for talent. News flash there.
Yep.
And there are ways in which they can win this game. What scares me about that is then we would enter into the dumbest sort of reality in college football, which is that I told y'all Indiana was fake. It wasn't real. They ain't played nobody, Paul. Like all this sort of nonsense. When in actuality, you were asking me again. The comp doesn't work because they've really looked like this all season. Like who's the hot 21 Braves kind of thing.
Right.
That Big Ten championship to me was significant. An otherwise meaningless game that was sort of played out for seeding position, and that's about it. You know, but really, it was like the winner is going to go to Pasadena, loser was going to go to one of those other. That's all it really meant.
Right.
Okay. Unless you are, and what a rare creature they are, an Indiana football fan your entire life, and you got to see them win the Big Ten. Let's not diminish that.
Sure.
But I think the way they were able to set the tone in that game on both lines and control that game with a team that is still more talented than them in Ohio State, for all the good work that's been done and amazing time, like amazing work in short order by Signetti that you were alluding to earlier in the hour. Ohio State's still a functionally better team.
For sure.
But I really like the way Indiana, was it the first play? It was the first play from scrimmage for Indiana when Mendoza just got absolutely tattooed.
Clocked, yeah.
Right? And you had the feeling of like, uh-oh, this is where the overachiever meets reality. Nope.
Not at all.
Very much like literally metaphorically gets up, dust themselves off.
Yeah.
I think Alabama fans, again, I feel like this is what I'm doing on every one of these previews. If you're a casual SEC, if you're an SEC fan and casual about college football, you haven't really tuned into a lot of Indiana games this year, you're going to be surprised when they match hat-on-hat physicality with Alabama. I really like Indiana in this game.
I do too. I think that Ty Simpson's struggles have come when you have a front seven that can consistently pressure him and get him off platform. And when you can't run the ball and you ask your quarterback to throw it 45 times a game in order to have a chance to win, that's all it takes, is being able to disrupt the timing of a passing attack when there is no rushing attack, which I still, for the life of me, cannot wrap my head around, that Alabama, of all teams, can't run the football.
And it's not something I think gets mentioned enough because of the way the Oklahoma game ended.
Right.
Oklahoma, that was a self-inflicted loss.
They couldn't run the ball either.
It was more that than it was Alabama overcoming.
For sure. I agree.
To go back to the SEC championship game, that's the product you're putting out. It's going to be fundamentally inferior.
Yeah.
I think that Ole Miss, and we'll get into them or we can transition now.
Yeah. Sure.
There's a lot stacked against them. They'll be more creative in finding rush yardage against Georgia than I think that Alabama offense was in Atlanta.
Question on that game in the Sugar Bowl is Georgia's just weekly death march they have in the second half against teams that can't stop the run, or this is how Kirby Smart wants to set up every game because he's still living in 2012 Alabama staff world. He's had a lot of success doing it, to be fair to him as well, but they wanted to set up things in the first half and then lean on you and take your will and stomp on your face with a hobnail boot in the second half.
Correct.
I don't know if Ole Miss is the defense to prevent that, if Georgia wants to win it that way and just takes care of the ball. 83rd best run defense in the country, 5 yards per carry for Ole Miss. 5 opponents have produced a 47% rushing success rate against Ole Miss. And it is Georgia, the team that beat them, and the 3 that almost pulled off upsets, Kentucky, Washington State, and Arkansas.
If you had the Walter Nolans that were the all-in year last year on that defense, the one that upset Georgia and Oxford, you would be talking kind of the way I was talking about Miami if they had Cam in that situation. This was and also just like Miami, this was sort of the off year. This wasn't the year Ole Miss was supposed to make the playoff. I don't want to do this, but let's talk about the coaching situation. Pete did not have to make any critical decisions against Tulane. the situational football identity of Ole Miss was never challenged. It was 14-0 in like an eye blink, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They zipped down on the first 15. Charlie Jr. basically ran the same script that he would run against most of the conference opponents that they beat this year, and they were functionally Ole Miss, sort of the headless Lane Kiffin Ole Miss, because they weren't ever really forced to do anything.
Yeah,
that ain't going to happen here. This is going to be the sort of the absence of Kiffin, not because he's some sort of genius. It's Golding said something after the Tulane game about a fourth down decision that he audited and went against what they normally would have done philosophically.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of piqued my interest because it didn't really matter in that game. How much of himself is he going to insert into this process? And how much of this is on autopilot with Weiss and those guys? And how much noise is in... Actually, I know how much noise is in this machine. Too much noise.
Yeah.
Ole Miss assistants right now are coaching sometimes in practice. No, I'm serious. They're sometimes coaching in practice. They're going through walkthroughs. They're doing a game plan install. Then they're turning around and going through recruiting meetings, portal meetings, and everything else at LSU. Ole Miss has okay, watch this. Non-LSU Ole Miss staffers, regular Ole Miss staffers, are assigned to every room like a hall monitor or like a chaperone. So if the Kevin Smith, the running backs coach, has now said he's going to go too, that he was one of those guys who was up in the air.
Yeah.
So he's going to go to LSU. So in the running backs room, he's never alone with the Ole Miss running backs because the biggest thought is that Kawan Lacey's almost certainly going to go to LSU now in the portal. That they are doing that to basically monitor against actual in the moment tampering when they should be prepping for Georgia. This is a circus beyond measure. I've never seen anything like this in my career. Whether you're an Ole Miss fan, a Georgia fan, or an LSU fan, I think everyone can agree that this shouldn't be happening.
No, for sure.
I don't want to get into a Lane Kiffin situation, but I am going to tell you this. Georgia is the most consistent embodiment of what Saban was. And this is catnip for them in terms of the distraction. My prediction is a really well-executed first 15 and maybe even a second or third drive, because as we've seen all season, Georgia is completely... It's almost like they enjoy taking your best punch.
They definitely do.
Right?
Definitely do.
I could see a 10-7 or a 10-3 first quarter lead for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And then I think it's a hellmouth in the second half. I think it's absolute terror. And they are going to lock down, make the adjustments they need to. I don't think it's going to be the tit-for-tat game that happened in Athens this year.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Stephen Godfrey, at 38 Godfrey on Twitter, College Football Inquirer, PhantomIsland.show. Appreciate you. Good to see you.
Yeah, man. Good to see you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah. Happy New Year, everybody.
All right. That is the show. That is the week. That is the year 2025. Enjoy your New Year's Eve. Enjoy your football. Enjoy your Stranger Things. If you're like me and football's on the tablet, I'm not sorry. And we will do it again. Monday morning, Ramon will be back as your New Year's Eve continues on 104.5 The Zone.
And remember, there's no Ramon, but everybody, Happy New Year. Stay safe. Have some fun tonight, whether you're going downtown tonight for Nashville's New Year Bash or not. Do not drink and drive. Uber if you have to. Just make sure you make it back to us on Monday. As Ramon always says, ELE, everybody love everybody. See you guys next year. There's my cliche. Remember, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.